by EliteFTS.com. Founded in 1998 with the primary aim to live, learn, and pass on. Please help Elite FTS support this mission by smashing the like button, leaving a comment, sharing with a friend, and thinking of us for your training needs. If you can put it in a gym bag or load weights on it, Elite FTS has it.
What's going on? I'm Dave Tate. We are broadcasting from the middle of the Elite FTS weight room, where the underground still thrives and you are part of the crew. It's time to sit down, keep it real, and cut the bullshit. Welcome to Table Talk. America Health is a premium telehealth platform specializing in hormone optimization and preventative medicine. Are you looking to optimize your health in and out of the gym, improve recovery, sex drive, and quality of life? Have you tried speaking to your health professional about this and have gotten the cold shoulder, stereotyped, or just told it's part of getting older? You just go to americahealth.com/table talk, and you can create your own lab, or you can take labs that we've had set up for them, which are based upon the same labs that I've been doing over the last 15 years. Or you can use their guided optimization. With this, they'll put you in touch with a patient care coordinator, which is actually pretty cool because you get to sit down and speak to somebody that can understand what you're looking for from hormone optimization and the preventative medicine standpoint. After that conversation, they'll determine which labs that you should and which tests you should have done, and then from there, get the labs done. They'll review those labs with you and put you in touch with one of their hormone optimization specialists that can determine which supplementation that you should use over the counter or prescription. americahealth.com/table talk. The discount code is table talk. Here. What's going on, guys? We are back with another episode of Table Talk. Today, my guest is Ryan Kennelly. The Benchmonster has official lifts, if open powerlifting is correct, which I think it is. A raw bench of 650, single ply 771, and the multiply at 1075. The first person to bench press 800 pounds, and that 1175 lasted for 12 years.
1075.
1075.
I wish it was 1175.
Yep. And author of the Kennelly Method. We got a lot of things that we want to talk about, but I'm going to jump in right where we were just talking about before the show started. Okay. So what was the question that you asked me?
About 30 seconds ago?
Yes.
Your top 3 favorite D-ball.
Yes. So that was it.
I have mine. I want to hear yours.
Yeah.
I'm asking you questions.
Yeah. So my answer to that was, the first one I put rugby D-ball, because when I started was at a time to where it wasn't coming from Mexico yet. It was still coming from people selling out of the back of pharmacies or wherever it was coming from. So it was official, little blue Smurf little D-balls, right?
Were they like little footballs or round?
Round. And then after that, I would have to say the tie. You know, D-ball, the pinkies.
Yep, snake and arrow, yep.
Yeah, then after that, I don't know. It's all kind of been the same.
Okay.
So I don't have like the third. So then what was yours?
But Pronable 5 out of India. Those were around when I was hitting the 800 bench, and they tasted like fertilizer. You ever walk down the aisle in Walmart, the fertilizer aisle, that smell? Well, that's what they tasted like. And my teammates liked them. When I had my 1,000-pound run, it was the Akron Russian Dianabol. Oh, okay. Favorite. And third was the Thai 5 milligram pink.
Yeah.
But those got faked in the late 90s, so they were kind of wishy-washy. So I stuck to what worked, and it was the Akron Russian. So
so if you go back with that, at what dose would you start to bloat on that with?
I would start 20 mg. I know this is gonna sound
I know. I'm gonna say the same thing though. 4 was a fucking lot. Yeah. Because that was 20 milligrams.
Yeah, I would get up to 30. I had a way of timing things.
30
milligrams a day. Yeah.
Okay, yes.
And basically, I knew when the substance kicked in. It was like 11 days, and I felt it really on day 14. So if I want to do my best lift, I don't want to do it in the fucking gym. I want to do it at the meet. Yeah. So I would ramp up and then take more as the meet got closer. And no more than 40 milligrams a day is all I could do. Yeah. And people won't believe this either, but the testosterone in itself too. The Polish Omnidron was, the creme de la creme.
750 brown ampule, right?
Ampule, crack top. Yeah. 750 milligrams a week. Anytime I went above 1,000, I would eat Ambien or something because it infected my sleep. And if I went too high on the D-ball, you couldn't eat. So now it's counterproductive. If I can't sleep, can't eat, you're gonna go fucking backwards, and backwards is not where you want to go. You want to go forward.
Yeah,
So
I think the reason
I had a balance.
I think the reason people won't believe it is they all start at 50 now.
Is that what they do?
Yeah.
Boy,
so
times have changed.
Yeah.
Maybe that's
so
why
it's
human
50.
beings are so strong. Every time I turn on Facebook, somebody's doing.
Or it's not 50. You know what I'm saying?
Who knows?
50 would be what, 10?
10
right?
fives, yeah.
Yeah, 10 fives. That's like bloat city where your eyes are swole shut.
Yeah.
You know, so
I've been there, but
Oh, yeah.
I do it with food. Yeah.
Yeah. So since we jumped into that real quick, going back through your history real quick, as I told you beforehand, I'm going to go through it real quick.
Yeah.
That way you don't have to tell the same stories over and over again.
I love to tell stories,
though. I want new stories, though.
Oh, new stories.
So, yeah. When you were a kid, you know, you were a small kid, and then at some point in time, for whatever reason, you ended up trying to bench 135, and it took you forever to do it. And then somebody laid down and did it for a set of 10, and it pissed you off.
Oh,
right?
Scarred me for life.
And so that's what started this whole process.
It did.
Then at some point in time, you hooked up with, this is a story I wanted you to tell a little more about, with Phil Hernan. Right? So
Yes.
what went on with that?
At the gym I was training at the time, it changed names over the course of 10 years. I think it was StarFit or LifeQuest Fitness. And he came down and did a seminar. And I got there late, and I guess he had a 150 dumbbell hanging from his hip, and he was doing dips, and he just 150 dumbbell, strong motherfucker. Mm-hmm. And he was promoting a product, and at the time, you know, steroids weren't readily available. If you didn't know somebody coming out of Mexico, you weren't going to get them. And if you did, it was your whole paycheck to get just, 100 tablets of something in a bottle of something.
Yeah.
So he was in the back of all these bodybuilding magazines. You see deer antler fucking drops and shit, whatever. Mm-hmm. And he was talking about, I might be quoting it wrong, testosterone was a pill form he recommended, and I believe HGH1 or HGFH1, it was a liquid. And he was promoting this, and I was at the time, 21 or something, and all of 198 pounds, and I was like, okay, Phil, where do you get it at? He's like, oh, well, you got to drive to Hood River, Oregon, and that's like 3 hours away. I've never drove that far in my life. Mm-hmm. And so one day I just hopped in my car, drove down there. Weirdest thing ever, walked into a gym just like this. There was a little locked up case, and it was both products were there, and I said I want both of those. I thought they were going to come over and unlock it and hand me those boxes. They write it down on a slip, and it goes to these double wide doors with a window on it. And there's guys back there in lab coats.
Like a kitchen door? Like you're walking into a kitchen
door? Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm looking back there, and they're in lab coats. And I'm sitting outside. I'm waiting like 30 minutes. And they come out with them, and they're not even in boxes. They're kind of like wrapped up in paper towels. And they hand it to me, and I go, okay. And long story short, we took the liquid HGH-F1 on max effort bench day, which was Friday at the time, and the testosterone pills were taken every day. Well, quickly realized that on Friday, we would take a full dropper of this stuff, do our bench workout, and then go to McDonald's. And at the time, Big Macs were $2 for $2. Mm-hmm. At 198 body weight, it was nothing to sit down and eat 7 Big Macs. I can't do that at 350. I can't do it at 350. Yeah, and my buddy was eating like 6 himself. We're like, okay, this is a fluke. The next Friday, we do the same thing. Go to McDonald's again, McChicken sandwiches, $2 for $2. 7, 8 of those. And long story short, did we get strong? Maybe 20 pounds on our bench. Did we get big? No. But I just never have seen a compound like that. And there's just all this MK677 that increases appetite, GHRP6 increases appetite. I don't know what was in this product, and I reached out to Phil before he passed away and asked him where I could get it, and he sent me a link to it, but he said that the formula has changed. So I never really looked further into it. But at the time, it was just like, I will never know exactly what I was putting under my tongue that made me consume. I don't know where it all went. Like my stomach was only this big at 198. How am I getting 7? I'm just shoving them in like this.
Yeah.
It was weird.
How far did you go drug-free?
551 shirted bench and a double poly at the time.
At what weight? 251. Okay.
I actually did a Wabner Worlds meet in 1997. Mm-hmm. And at the time I was living the Tank Abbott lifestyle, working out, drinking on the weekends, raising hell, you know. And I remember I did that Wabdol meet, and I benched 512 at 242 in a poly. And it was like New Year's Eve came, and the girlfriend I had at the time pissed me off. And I was like, you know what? I'm not going to drink anymore. Quit drinking alcohol. And then 2 months later, I went down to Salem, Oregon. This is the Wabdol Federation. And I benched a 551, gained 10 pounds in body weight, and did a 551 bench. And I was like, okay, don't drink. And then after that meet, I had a buddy who was had his MP pro carb bodybuilder wheelchair guy, 24-inch biceps. Won't mention his name. And it was my birthday. This was March 1998. And I'll never forget it. We're riding in my girlfriend's car, and he goes, Ryan, hold out your hand. So I held out my hand. He pours in like 120 Thai D-ball tabs. And then I was like, well, what do I do? How do I take these? And he goes, I don't know. Take 2 in the morning, 2 at night. So I took 2 in the morning, 2 at night, and then like 6 weeks later, I benched 617. Yeah. So then I got a taste of it.
Did you know what they were?
He told me they were Dianabol tablets, but I didn't know how to take them all at once or spread them out. But I just took 2 in the morning, 2 at night until they ran out. I found out the hard way, though. After I did that 617, I beat Bill Gillespie's record at the time. I don't know if you're familiar with him. In Wabdol, he had a 584 at 275 or something. And that day I benched 540, 584, 600, and 617. So Gus Rethwich was like, oh, Kennelly, I'm going to fly you down to Texas in 4 or 5 weeks. Okay, I'll just bring that same bench down there. I don't have any more pills, so I'm assuming I can still do a 600 in 4 weeks from now. Boy, did I find out the hard way. Body weight went this way, strength went this way, and it was also that at that meet in Irvine, Texas, where I was at Ricky Dale Crane's table. And he had the I don't know what book it was, a brown steroid Bible, A to Z. So I open up the first page, and it's Anapolen or Anadrol 50, and I'm looking at it. And it's like, if you take this product, you will gain 30 pounds in a month and die. This is what I need. And I didn't. A buddy of mine bought the book, and because I want to study. If I'm going to do this, I want to know what I'm doing, how I'm doing it, how to protect myself, how not to have that testicular, issue afterwards. I want to do it correctly and get the most benefit out of it. So that started a whole study process. And at the time, internet was just becoming available, and you can go on and search in forums, and that's what I did a lot of times. I stayed up for nights on end trying to study this, trying to figure out how to do it correctly. And because no one was teaching us. You didn't go to a meeting like, oh, this is how you do it. No, you didn't talk about it. It was like taboo. It was up to 6 years ago, I guess. So
it sounds like it was different where you're from the Washington area, right?
Yeah.
So how far away were you from Bill? Because I know Bill
was a strength coach at the Seattle Seahawks.
Yeah. See, I met him when he was still at the university coaching there. So how were you in realm to be able to train with him?
No, he was 3 hours away from me. He was in Seattle.
All right.
And so we only met up at Wabdol meets, World meets or something like that. But when you go to a powerlifting federation, usually they have a rule book, a records book. Well, I'm thumbing right open to and I didn't give a fuck about the junior class I was in. Open records. Ken Lane, Anthony Clark, Bill Gillespie in the open Wabdol, whatever. And I want to beat him. So.
Do you think it wasn't talked about as much because when I came up through, because Wabdol is drug-free or drug tested, right?
Yeah.
Do you think that kept those conversations down where most people didn't want to talk about it?
No, I was the black sheep. After I did that 617, I was the most hated man in Wabdol. So they were after me like flies on shit.
Why is that?
Gus's sponsor and the Team Oregon was his boys. They were like, there's no fucking, get this fucking Kennelly out of here. I even had one of my own teammates throw me under the bus, if you can believe that. Called up Gus and said, yeah, Kennelly's taking this, they take his record, because he was jealous of me.
Yeah.
So I had people fucking me at both ends. So
yeah,
it didn't matter. I expected it, and I dealt with it. But Wabdol just wasn't an organization of people. Maybe they were, but no one talked about it. No one, oh, here, you wave a red flag and say, I'm taking this. What do you take? Those conversations were never happening. And like I told you, 30 minutes ago, you know, when I would go to meets like back in 2006, 7, everybody kind of respected everybody's privacy. Nobody came up and said, Ryan, what are you taking? How much you take? It was just, I kind of liked it like that. So I didn't have to like explain myself, and we just lifted and let the numbers show for themselves. So
it's interesting because, you know, WABDA was more, to my perception of that, was more of a West Coast federation. There weren't like a whole lot of WABDA meets that were around Ohio, Pennsylvania, Michigan. Those were either APF or some of those other meets where the same kind of stuff happened, but not to the same degree. And there were more conversations, I should say, you know, about that. And that probably changed as you started competing in different federations and traveling, or did it not? A
little bit. I don't know. Maybe I'm just unapproachable, and I don't know. Maybe people just don't want to break the ice with me on that. So maybe, I don't know. It's looking back on it, I just can't explain it too much. So
yeah. Well, it could be because it's we were talking a little bit earlier too, the when anabolics or PEDs are discussed online now, there's a lot of backlash about people who don't speak about it, which is weird, right?
Well, there's backlash if you do speak about it.
Not so much now.
I mean, people are going to hate me for even starting the conversation off with talking about D-ball before we even said hello.
Exactly.
Welcome to the show.
There'll be some.
Hey, I'm having fun, man.
Yeah, I know, but
I'm not going to live forever, and it's fuck it.
What I tried to point out was, you know, over a period of 3 decades, you know, I've had personal friends of mine get popped and have to do time for this, and or they were afraid because they were a teacher, if their school found out about it, they could lose their job. You know, there were consequences to people who that would come out and speak openly about it. So they would just pivot away from the conversation, where you're an example of somebody that actually had consequences because people found out about it.
That's right.
You know, so talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, you know, just looking back, you know, years and years ago, like I said, if in 2000, I mean, back in the day, if you didn't have somebody that came up from Mexico and brought stuff, there was no European, there was no China powder bullshit.
Did you ever go?
To where?
Mexico.
That's a whole nother story. Yeah, we'll get to that later. No, but it was at the time, I just got tired of looking online and seeing these forums of, you know, fuck you labs, suck my dick labs or whatever, people making their own shit and people saying they're getting liquid soap and they're getting this, that, and the other. So I decided, like, if I'm going to like put something in my body, I want to know what goes in that bottle and what it is exactly. It tested it. There was at a time too where you could take your hormone that you have and send it off to Utah, and there was a lab down there that would test it and send you back the lab results. So I knew exactly what was going in my body, but there's consequences to the game because you know, in 1991 George Bush Sr. wanted to make testosterone in the same class as cocaine, Schedule 3, because it was ruining baseball. DEA didn't want it in there. You know, they fought, they said no, and as we talked earlier there, they might actually reduce it down. So I didn't really think that I was hurting anybody, you know? I mean, I've done cocaine, I've done testosterone, and I don't know why they're brother and sister. I'm fucking a 5-gallon bucket of cocaine and a 5-gallon bucket of testosterone oil. It doesn't make sense. So, you know, so I can't say I got a little loose, but you just get too comfortable sometimes ordering stuff. And it's, you know, back in 2003, I got in trouble, got a slap on the wrist, you know. At that time, I was benching 800 pounds. Later on in life, you know, it was getting more advanced. I was in the prime of my life, you know, 30s. And supplementation, I've gotten more educated and more skilled. And it was working, obviously, because I got in trouble in 2010. Everybody knows about that. And at that time, I was benching 1,075. But jokingly, I mean, if you look at the facts, 2003 to 2010, you know, results. Yeah, kids. Yeah. So the shit works, but you got to know how to use it correctly. You know, and on the way here on the plane, yesterday,
that was me.
I was contemplating and thinking, you know, I have extreme knowledge in synthetic male hormone derivatives. I hate the word steroids. It's a fear-mongering term. It's like assault rifle. It's like cult leader. But if you walk around and say, I'm on synthetic male hormone derivatives, people are like, what's that? Anabolic steroids? Oh, yeah. But this day and age, it's from where I came from, where it was super hard to get.
Yes.
Now, any asshole can get on the internet and order whatever he wants. Testosterone, anabol, tren. Got a cool tren story to tell you, too.
Okay.
Yeah. So it'd be fun to sit down with some kid 18 to 25 who's going to start doing it and have me give him advice. But you know what? The minute it go one ear out the other. Once this kid gets a taste of this stuff, finds out how, I think it's psychologically addictive. You start taking testosterone and any other product, you're going to put on 10 pounds probably with the right diet. All your lifts are going to go up 40 pounds. In the gym, you're going to hear remarks like, oh my God, you're getting huge. Oh my God, you're swole. You're jacked as fucked. Eventually, he's got to come off the stuff. And when he comes off, his testicular axis is going to be 0. He's going to go into a complete lull down here, lose size, lose strength. It's like Superman and Clark Kent. Now he's way below he was before he even took steroids. Now the comments he's getting in the gym is, are you dieting? Are you sick? Do you have cancer? Do you have AIDS? You've lost 20 pounds. So that's psychological addiction. Now he's like, do I want to feel this way or do I want to feel this way? So now he probably goes right back on. I don't think anybody really comes off anymore. It's called a cycle for a reason. But I don't know what kids are doing these days with as readily available as stuff is. It's kind of scary.
When you got popped, it was through the mail, right?
Yeah.
So that risk is still there today.
Still
if
there today.
anybody's ordering anything and having it sent to their
That's
house,
correct.
the same thing can happen.
Same thing can happen, yeah. Anytime you facilitate the U.S. mail for transportation of illegal narcotics of any kind, fentanyl, cocaine, heroin, marijuana, it's a federal felony. And
So in a way, it wouldn't be wise for them to be telling everybody on the internet that this is what they do.
Correct.
If they're ordering it and having it sent to their house.
That's correct.
Because all it needs to do is to piss off one person that may not like them at the local post office.
That's true. Yeah.
Yes. And then if that said issue happens, what is the penalty that they could be looking at?
As far as first offense?
Yeah.
Well, I just think fentanyl is killing America, and the government, if they were going to do something about it, they would go down and wipe these cartels off or just chop Mexico or just nuke the fucking country over there. But they don't want to do that because if they take out the cartels, then it'll free up too much jail space in that prison for profit thing.
Yeah.
So they just keep busting the individual user. We had a fentanyl bust pretty close to my house recently, and they got like 300 fentanyl tabs. And I went on the local news station Facebook page, and there's 300 comments. And these people are on there like giving them high fives, like they won the war on drugs. Dude, you took a blade of grass out of somebody's fucking lawn. You didn't touch the war on drugs. You didn't kill fentanyl. As soon as you did that, there was millions more coming in the next day. It's just an overwhelming thing that people are getting hooked on, and it's killing them. And I saw one of your podcasts recently where you said, fentanyl starts making its way into testosterone products, injectables and stuff.
I don't know if it is, but I can see it. Because it's making its way into everything else,
making it more addictive and and killing people.
Yes,
it's dangerous shit.
So it's
Russian roulette. It totally is.
When you were making your own shit, did you make any of your own blends?
Absolutely.
And how did you come across deciding what to mix with what?
Oh, it was just thought process, like
a mixed drink, like bucket. I'll try
no, just like Super Deca, Super Test, Super Masteron. There's fast acting Masteron. There's slow acting Masteron. How many different testosterones are there? 7 or 8. Acetates all the way through, and decanates. SIP and F8 combos, Trenbolone combos, fast acting Super Tren combos. I mean, the list goes on and on. You can get super creative. You can do. I've seen people make cut fuel, which is like Tren acetate, propionate, and Masteron. I've never done that one myself, but I'm big on the strength. Things are going to make you strong, help with joint connective tissue, DECA, which I'm not a big fan of because it kills my sex drive totally. So does Tren, but Tren makes you strong. So it's a strength game we're in. So eventually, you had to figure out what compounds worked for you the best, and know those go-tos when there's a bench for cash, an Arnold Classic.
When you were in your prime, was Tren a thing?
Oh, absolutely. Tren has been around 2000. You used to be able to get those Phenoplex kits, and then you'd find a cattle place and get the pellets, melt them down, filter them, and that was the phenomenal shit. That worked really good. I was on it one time for 8 months. And there was a time I was in my bathroom and I was squeezing my nipples and I was lactating. It was the grossest thing I've ever seen.
No, I've seen that.
Yeah, like milky shit coming out.
Yeah.
And then second part of that story is like a month later, I went down to Florida to do a APF meet in 2004, and I was staying at a friend's house. And I remember I was taking a shower and I was washing my hair, and literally like hairy palm, like you couldn't even see skin. I was like, what the fuck? All my hair's falling off. I did it again. And it's like, oh my God, I got to get off of this stuff. And it's too late now, but my hair's falling out. I'm old now, though. So give me a break.
But when the pellet, because the pellets came in because almost everything was dry at that time.
Yes.
Right. So that was kind of filling a gap. And I think that was between the Mexico, because there was, you know, it went from the U.S. stuff, then it went to Mexico, then from Mexico, there was the powders, but there was a gap.
There was a gap.
There.
Yep.
So that filled that gap. But then after that gap was, I don't remember Trend being around. You know, I kind of remember Parabolon before that gap, right?
Yep.
But then I don't remember Trend even being an option. If, you know, here's what you can order as a test, you know, all the tests and all that. But it was in your circles right after. So after the pellets, Trend was available, or
the pellets were available up until like 2007. That's what I used, and then the powders became available.
Okay.
And then so did then they started making those derivatives like Trenbolone and Naphthate, long-acting Tren.
Yeah.
And that interested me because I've taken the acetate before and done quite well with you know, I call it Trenbolone, you know, I call it two things. I call it strength in a bottle and divorce in a bottle. So, I mean, it's one or the other for you. But the cool Trenbolone story was, and this was the last time I would ever take it until 2016. This was 2004. And I was a late night person. I would stay up late talking to John Inzer about shirts because I was hell-bent on making the perfect phenom, and we would sit for hours from 11 sometimes till 2 in the morning, 3 in the morning, talking about how to design this phenom shirt to get the maximum benefit out of it. Well, one night about midnight, I went to Jack in the Box. Just saw a commercial on TV. It says, we don't make it till you order. Okay. Going to Jack in the Box at midnight, and I want the bacon double whatever and curly fries ranch, large Diet Coke. She goes $7.70 something at the window, and as soon as I went around the corner, my bag's out. I'm like, bitch, you didn't just make that. That wasn't made to your order. Take it home. It's like it's been warmed under somebody's fucking armpit, and I'm pissed. Keep the receipt. Next day at noon. Yeah, and I'm on Trenbolone and Naphthate right now, okay? Next day at noon, every bit of 300 pounds, fucking pissed.
About the same thing.
About the fucking burger, dude.
So you slept on it.
I woke up hotter than a fucking firecracker. Oh, fuck, couldn't wait to get to Jack in the Box. And I sleep in, so this is noon. It's breakfast time. I'm rolling into fucking Jack in the Box. Up to the counter, scowl. Fucking, I said, I was here last night. Here's my fucking receipt. I saw a commercial. You don't make it till you order. I ordered, and as soon as I went around the corner, it was out. It was lukewarm. And I said, I want it fresh. I'm loud. Everybody can hear me. Heavy-set Mexican lady in the back is cooking. Looked through this little square window and told me, if you want it, you can fresh. You can come back here and make it yourself. It was, I don't want to slap your table because you told me not to slap your table. I slapped the table, 1 foot up on the counter, going over the counter. I was hopping, my ass was on the counter. I was up on the counter, dude. Just a fucking heartbeat.
So what happened next?
It's not over. So I go sit down, and I know they're going to spit in my fucking food. That fucking bitch is going to loogie in it. I don't give a fuck. I didn't even eat it. But I didn't say whether I wanted it here or to go. I'm in the fucking restaurant. Did I say to go? I said I wanted it fucking fresh. So they go to order 164. I walk up, and then the asshole who's holding my bag, like, here, me to you. I walk up, and I figure he's going to hand it to me. He tosses it to me. Mm-hmm. I don't know what I said there because I kind of blurred, but I remember I went home, I called my buddy, and I said, come get this stuff. Never did it again. No. That's because that was bad. Yeah, I just snapped like a fucking firecracker. So
yeah, over hamburger.
That's a one-time thing. You know, we all have those one-time things. You know, Over hamburger. It's little things.
Yeah.
Don't fuck with my food. Yeah, Benchmonster's got to eat. I was trying to, I wanted to be big and bad, you know,
Yeah.
and I wanted to be, at that time, I don't think I had my CPAP yet, so I wasn't able to get up to 363. So I was doing everything I could, you know, calorie-wise, to eat and get big. But that really rubbed me the wrong way. I thought it was a cool story. So,
What was the first world record that you hit?
well, I don't count like a Wabdal.
No, the main one.
800.
800.
That's the one. I tied Anthony Clark's record. According to Herb Glossenbrenner, I think it was 785. He was legitimately, or 784. I don't know. I don't know what I did. 800's the one
Yeah.
You know, Scott Middleton runs around. I got 72 world records, bro.
Yeah.
Yeah. I got 800, and the 1075 was a world record, so I had those.
What was your weight at that time?
For the 800?
Yeah.
295.
295. So when did you realize, or when did you think that you had to push your weight up higher?
Well, weight moves weight, you know, and I knew genetically my mom and dad are big bone fat people. And I knew that I could probably get up in weight and do some, well, because I'm 6 at the time, before my discs started shrinking, I was like 6'3". Look at the gigantic bench stroke.
Yeah.
I'm not 5'10" with, you know, with a barrel chest, so I got to get my boiler, you know, 49 inches or whatever. And I remember Mendelsohn told me once to have 4 2,500 calorie shakes a day in between 4 solid meals, you know, and at the time
How do you do that?
Well, I didn't. I was sponsored by a supplement company called Bob O'Leary Supplements. He was a distributor for anything, everything I ever wanted. And I would order so much stuff, it wasn't even funny. But I ordered the 2,500 calorie shakes, and I tried to mix them with whole milk, ice, and in the blender, it just turned into a blizzard.
Yeah.
It was a spoon eating thing. And I was like, I can't do this. So I got the 1,875 calorie shakes, started mixing those with water and fat-free milk, and I was able to start getting those down. And then it was in 2007, which was a really weird year because there was a lot of, Kennelly must have found a new drug or something, because I started the year in 2007 at the Fit Expo, Mendelssohn's Fit Expo, with a 903 bench, weighing 315 at the time, I think.
Okay.
Then I went to the Arnold a month later, and I opened with 903 because Kara Bohegan said I couldn't do it, and it didn't count unless you only did it at the Arnold. So that I make sure I opened with 903 there just to stick it to her, you know, a little bit. And after that, I came home. I did an APF meet, Brent Mikesell, I don't know if you ever his name, up in Spokane. This was about in April. And on the way to that meet, I'm carrying my bag, and I'm practically dying. And this old timer named Skip Sandberg, who's from my town, I was sitting next to him. I'm going, man, I'm tired all the time. And he's like, you have sleep apnea. I go, well, what's that? And he explained it to me. And at the time, I had a really cool doctor where I lived. Type of doctor where you could go in, and the typical thing was, I wasn't a pain pill addict, but I was like, I want to try hydrocodone. He'd write me a script. I want to try Valium. Write me a script. I want to try growth hormone. Okay, well, you got to meet me at the movie theater parking lot. Okay. So I went in there and I said, I need a CPAP machine. He's like, oh, well, you need a sleep study, that's $2,000. I go, no. I said, just write on a prescription, I need a CPAP. He goes, what do you mean? Pulls out his prescription pad, writes CPAP machine, rips it off. I fax it to cpap.com, and I got a CPAP machine. Got it home, didn't know how to hook it up or anything, took it to a place called Lincare. They set it up, set the pressure. I went home. I don't want the story to drag too long, but the first night I wore it for like 2 hours, ripped it off my face.
How long did it take to get used to it?
3 days.
3 days.
Second,
Only 3 days.
3 days. Second night, I had it on for, I don't know how long, but then it was on the floor. The third night, I slept 12 or 13 hours. I went to bed at 11, and I woke up like at 11 or 12 the next day. And I'll never forget the dream I had. Because at the time, when you have sleep apnea, you don't get in REM state sleep, so you don't dream.
Yeah.
I had the coolest dream about my truck. It could fly through the air. And I woke up, and I was weirded out because I didn't know what time I went to bed. I was like, I was weirded out. Long story short.
So when the truck's flying through the air, did you go to Jack in the Box?
No, and I don't really go to Jack in the Box anymore. I try not to interact with people as big as I am. I mean, in society, we live in a judgmental society. I'm getting off on a different tangent now.
Keep going.
Okay, which one?
The CPAP.
Okay, so long story short, it was like Memorial Day weekend, and me and my sister never get along. And they came up, my mom and her came up Memorial weekend, and we got along. Like, I'm in a good mood now. Like, why am I in a good mood? Well, I'm getting sleep. So, and then I noticed quickly too that I would walk around town, I don't mean to be like a bully guy, but in my little town, I'd you're 315 or whatever, and I wear a spaghetti strap tank top, and I walk into places and I say, like Burger King, number 2, large fry, large Diet Coke, employee discount, and I get it. They don't. I just say I work at the one in Spokane, and I was getting like employee discounts everywhere I went. So I quickly realized that before, when I had sleep apnea, I could only eat half a sandwich or half a foot long. And then about a week into this CPAP machine, I was putting away a whole sandwich and wanting more. Okay, so I'm like, okay, something's going on here. About 3 weeks into it, I went back to Lincare that set up the machine, and I'm like, I'm a whole different person. I'm in a good mood. I'm eating more. And so they pulled the chip out of my machine and did a diagnosis on it and figure out how much sleep I was getting. And they came back with the readings, and they go, you're not going to believe this, Ryan. And I go, what? And he goes, you're averaging 10 to 13 hours of sleep a night for the past 3 weeks. And I go, I know. I go to bed at 9. I wake up at 11 the next day. And it was, and then of course that leveled out eventually. Now, I get 8 or 9 or whatever now, but at the time, and then it started taking off. The body weight. Now the high calorie shakes and the food, it was like 315, 330, 345. I got up to 352, and my handoff guy at the time looked at me and he goes, Johnny Perry, strongman who died at 400. So I quit squatting. Because I remember I was still squatting at the time, and I didn't know where the weight was. It just wouldn't stop. And at the time, at the gym I was training at, it was one of those doctor scales with both weights on them. So I would move it all the way over to 300 and all the way over to 350, and there's still about 1.5 inches of room with that lower one, 352, and it was still pegged. So I don't know how, I couldn't weigh myself. Actually, there was like a cattle gigantic one at the feed store. I would go over there, but I don't know how accurate that was. But I got up to 363 was my biggest. And that probably could have gone further, but at the time it was just a perfect weight. My stomach was huge, and I didn't have much bar travel, so I could work with that.
Well, you're able to recover. Sleeping helps.
REM sleep,
right?
So everything worked better. Supplementation worked better. Everything just came together because, like I said, I started the year with a 903 bench. I ended that December with 1050. So people look at that year and they're like, "Well, how did he go 902 to 1050?" Well, he got in the phenom. No, there's more to it. No, he's claiming CPAP. I think he's bullshitting us. So
during this whole time with all this stuff that were you doing, with this doctor that you had, did you ever have your labs done?
No. He wouldn't even test my blood pressure. This was a cool doctor. I just walk in there, we just chat. I was like, I can't sleep. What do you got? Here's some Valium. Doctor, I've never tried Oxycontin. What's that like? How many do you want? This was back when the prescription pad was free. And it was just, no, never drew my blood, never tested my testosterone. I just kind of just managed it on my own. So
you never thought to test it?
No. And looking back on it, now that I know that taking hormone replacement or synthetic male hormone derivatives raises your red blood cell count, and that thickens your blood somewhat. So now every 3 months I do bloodletting. I do my own bloodletting. So
you do your own?
Yes. Yeah, 16 gauge needle. It's like a fucking McDonald's straw.
And how'd you learn how to do that?
I watched my sister do it because she's a phlebotomist, and then I figure I just do it like a heroin addict. I take a mini band, your Elite Fitness mini band, wrap it around, and I hit that one right there. It's still shaved. It's still shaved from 3 weeks ago.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how much do you pull?
750 ml.
Okay.
Yeah, 500 is what they do at a blood bank. I pulled 1,000 once, and I was completely flat for like a week. It just felt like the barbell was sitting on bones in my hand. It just, about 750 is a happy medium. And if I had it my way, and you were still able to order like a lactated ringer or sodium chloride IV, I'd put the IV back in and put the fluids back in that way. But you can't get IV fluids anywhere. So you can go to these clinics and they have these cocktails with vitamins and shit in them. I want the sodium chloride and lactated ringer combo.
To jump back to your first world record, how were you training for that at the time? Like, what was your
800 pound bench?
Yeah, what was your basic training protocol before you spoke to Louis?
I just kind of made it up on my own. We would train. We'd had a heavy day. And I would do a lot of. I didn't do any board pressing until I saw the West Side bench VHS tape. So it was just, I could do 500 close grip for 5 reps, 550 raw, did just a lot of heavy benching and a lot of stupid rack lockouts, incline, and we would put on our shirt 2 weeks out before a meet type of thing. And I over supplementated one time, because this kind of what led me to Louis. Gus Rethwich in May of 2000 May 2000 or June, I went to a Wabdel meet in Springfield, Oregon. This is when I figured, I got a calendar out, and I said, I have this amount of Polish Omnidrin, I have this many Thailand D-ball. I want to be strong on meet day. I know D-ball kicks in on day 11 to 14, so I'm going to count back from the meet and do a Sustanon, 5 days before, 7 days before the meet, every other day, and then space them out, and then increase the D-ball as the meet gets closer. Well, I did that. Had the best meet of my life. I showed up, and I beat Glenn Chabot's record that day. I did a 650, a 705, 723, and a 733. And at that time, I was probably one of 7 guys, bench 700 at the time or whatever. And Gus was like, "Oh, you got to come to my world." And it's like, okay. And John Enzer was telling me, now's the time to ask Gus for money. And I should never have done that. Gus got totally pissed at me. I called up Gus. I said, Gus, I'm going to come to your worlds, and I want $1,000 for every 700 bench I do. And he goes, who the fuck told you that? That goddamn fucking John Enzer? And I go, yeah. He goes, oh, fuck you, Kennelly. He cussed me out on the phone. And I'm already on his poster to go to Reno with the Peppermill and do this fucking meet.
Yeah.
So 2.5 weeks out, and I just gotten back from Mexico with a lifetime supply for myself, and I was like,
so what's that look like? So we're going to go down that hole. So how is it going there? Where are you getting it, and how do you get it back?
Mexico?
Yeah.
Well, I want to tell the Gus Rethwich story first.
Okay,
we'll come back.
All right.
So anyway, I was like, okay, fuck you, Gus. Like, I hung up from him, like, you motherfucker. At the time, I was probably good at that. When I hung up the phone from him, I was probably good for a 766 bench. I was weighing 288.
Okay.
So I go home, I got 2 weeks, and I just start fucking boom. Reforvit B, test Bravo test 200. Fucking, long story short, I was 288. Okay, the meet's like 14 days away. A week out from the meet, 3 nights in a row, can't sleep, can't eat. I ate 1 McChicken in 3 days. Toxic. 288 down to 255. I show up at Wabdel, and the first thing Gus says to me, because the word got out that I was sick, first thing he says to me, he goes, what the fuck, you're sick? And I go, yeah, motherfucker, I'm sick. Long story short, 3 or 4 attempts to do a 705 there, and then an individual got me banned from Wabdel there because I told him, won't mention his name, he's a snitch. Gus kind of banned me from Wabdel, didn't give a fuck. At the time, my team had fucking fizzled off.
Banned for what?
Because I told somebody, how much I took and how I toxified and it freaked me out a little bit. And so he went to Gus, oh, Kennelly took so much he almost died. And whatever.
Yeah, I get it.
But no, so I just, after that, at that time, I was having to go wake up my handoff partner because I had one person. I used to have 14 people show up at the gym. Now it's one person. And I had to go wake him up on Saturday morning and come fucking hand off for me. So I just lost interest in training. So I was like, you know what? This girl that I kind of knew, her family moved to Fort Myers or somewhere, Port Charlotte, Florida, and she was moving down there, and I'm looking around like, I'm just gonna fucking leave. That's what I do. I've done it before in '99. I just moved to Dallas, Texas, out of the blue. So I went down to Florida, quit powerlifting, totally walked away, ended up right in a bar, drinking Crown Royal, throwing people up on the wall by their neck, going to jail probably. And I said, I got to get back in the gym. So I go back into a Gold's Gym. I'm making my high protein shakes again, and I'm not in there for a week. Guy comes up to me with a Powerlifting USA magazine. He goes, are you Ryan Kennelly? You did 700 bench and, yeah, it's me. We got to train. I got chains. I'm going to get bands. I'm like, okay, and then we started training a little bit, and he's like, well, where are we going to go for meet? And then they had the Bench for Cash in Daytona that year in 2001. And I got my best supplementation, my best training, 600. I could do 615 for 3 reps raw in the shirt. I was probably good for 720 probably. And that's kind of a cool meet because I went to it and didn't know what to expect. And I remember the West Side guys walked in. I didn't care about anybody else, Bumore, whatever. But when I sat there, I remember they came in like in a single file line, Halbert in front with the Superman shirt on. Behind him was Patterson, behind him Fusner, and behind them Louis. No eye contact, just straight fucking single file line. And I look at them back here and they go back and sit at a table. I'm like, okay, fuckers, I got something for you. I'm gonna do the intimidation factor thing. Yeah. I told Louis about this last time we were here, and he just laughed when I told him this. I said, I tried to intimidate your guys, Louis, warming up, 6:15 raw. They're all around the bench at Halbert. So I'm like, okay, 6:15, boom. Yeah. They didn't flinch.
Nobody gave a fuck.
They didn't fuck, fuck if I did it. And I bombed that day, lost to Fusner, but after it was over, and I went back and Louis and Halbert were standing there, and I said, Louis, I need your help. I said, I know I can do this. I just, and he goes, call me Monday morning. And it was like Monday morning, 3-hour conversation, Tuesday morning, 3-hour conversation. I wrote everything down on a yellow manila envelope, which I still have, everything. You train slow, you'll be slow, all these things he was saying. And I took it back. Then I moved back to Washington State. So I moved back with this Louis knowledge, chains and bands, and came back with a new training persona. And basically, I moved back to Washington in 2002 March.
Why'd you move back?
Hated Florida. Didn't like the rednecks down there, really. Didn't like the mosquitoes, didn't like the weather, humidity. It's kind of a snowbird state anyway, and it wasn't my gig.
Yeah.
But came back and with a new fire, and I started using the bands and chains. What Louis taught me. And a month after I was there, I called up Gus, and I was like, Gus, I know I'm a black sheep of Wabdol. Can I lift you? He goes, yeah, you can be a guest lifter. Okay, perfect. So I go to do a guest lift there, and I did a 769 bench and beat Scott Mendelson's 766 he did at the Arnold that year, because he beat me at the Arnold in 2001. That was probably March or April, and then May I did an APA meet, tied Anthony Clark's record of 785. And I remember calling up Gus saying, I did 75. He goes, well, you've, Anthony Clark, I said, I'm gonna go for 800 and beat Anthony. And he's like, well, Anthony never did 800. He was credited with 785. I go, oh, so no one's ever done 800. So then Gus flew me down to Houston in July of 2002 to go down, and Anthony Clark's brother was there, and to go down there and break Anthony Clark's record in his hometown. Well, it didn't work out. Did 755, took 2 or 3 shots at 800, didn't work. Came home kind of with my tail between my legs, and it was Sunday or Monday morning, my fucking phone rings. It's like, Kennelly, this is Gus. You're coming to my meet next weekend. I go, bullshit, I am, Gus. I said, when I do a meet, I said, the next weekend, I am jello, I am worthless. He's like, oh, no, I'm going to call your numbers for you. And I was like, this ain't gonna work. All right, Omnidrin. Just took the whole week off, just rested, showed up at the meet, warmed up. I remember doing 585 in the back warm-up room, and it went up so fucking slow. It was just like, I'm done. But Gus has me open, I usually open 755. Gus has me opening 683. So we go 683, okay, 739, okay, and then 781 went up pretty good. And I remember going in the back like 781, well, 9 more pounds, that's 800. I think I got this. So went out there and I did that 800 and became the first man to do it. And of course they wanted to discredit me because I had an open back shirt. I was a guest lifter. I wasn't a real lifter. That was back when internet, people were posting under fake names and all that good stuff. But Mexico trip.
Yes.
Well, in what was this? 2000. In the year 2000, this is OJ if I did it hypothetical, okay?
Yes.
Had a girlfriend at the time. She thought she was fat. And I said, well, you need to get on T3 and Clinton. Where do you get that? Mexico. So somehow, some way, there was a $5,000 loan that we got. And I got rent a car at 6 o'clock at night on a Wednesday and drove 22 hours straight to San Diego. Checked into a hotel. I was in Tijuana Square by 2300 hours or whatever. And I knew where I wanted to go because I did my research. I knew the pharmacy I wanted to go to, but then I had to figure out the game plan. How, you walk back with the college kids on the weekend at 2 a.m, act drunk, right? In crowds. And
how big are you at this time?
277 with a 4X yellow shirt, a fisherman's cap on, Jesus Christ sandals on, trying to play the part.
Yeah, I got it.
Yeah, overdressing, trying to not look big.
Yeah.
And so anyway, I'm hell bent on. So I was getting tired of paying $180 for a bottle of testosterone from Mexico. 180. When I went down to that pharmacy, I go, "How much is that Testosterone Bravo 200? $4." My fucking jaw dropped. I was like, $4. So I was like, okay, long story short, multiple trips at 2 a.m, and the whole 9 yards. And I'll never forget it because every time we parked in the San Ysidro parking lot, I had the 3-6 Mafia song, Sipping on Some Scissor. Every time I got in that car, sipping on some scissor, fucking driving home, just laughing my ass off. It was so funny because in my little apartment I lived in, I had a cupboard. Most people have glasses and dishes.
Yeah.
The glasses and dishes out. It's rows, just like the pharmacy. So I open up. It was beautiful. Didn't have to worry about stressing like getting it from Joe Blow and him taking my whole fucking measly paycheck that I was making at a sports bar at the time. Wasn't a rich man, so I had everything set up, and I found some compounds that really worked well. Halotestin, they had the liquid D-ball called Reforvit B at the time, and it was some good stuff coming out at the time, and I loved it.
So after that 800, where did you start changing the training because of what you learned from Louis? Was that before that 800?
No, I was living in the Rage X bench shirt.
Okay.
And I didn't like that shirt at all. But then Inzer sent me that Phenom. And if you know anything about the Rage X, it's super rigid. Yeah. The Phenom is like dog ear sleeves. It's like a fucking band shirt. It's like nothing. And the one he sent me, it was big. And I remember throwing it in the corner of my closet and just left it there for 6 months. And then Rich Lackey did 9. And when I saw Rich Lackey do 10, I was 1,000. I was like, I got to get this shirt out. I got to make this work. And so I got on the phone with John. I was like, I need send me tighter shirts or something. And so I started getting the Phenom shirts in. And of course, the body weight was going up too at the time. And I remember my first meet. I was 7 or 8 weeks with my CPAP machine. I did a Pride powerlifting meet in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, and I did 975 and almost a 10:10. I mean, I was so shocked because after I did the 975, I came out for 10:10 and I brought it down. I remember when it said press, I looked up and it was like right here. And I freaked out, like, I can't bench this right now, can I? I didn't get it. And then a month later, I did a bodybuilding show in Oregon, did 986 at a exhibition thing we did down there. And then we flew to the Ukraine. And I don't know if you ever heard the Mendelsohn Ukraine story. I don't think anybody wants to hear that again. I've told it enough.
Okay.
Yeah, but no, we went to the Ukraine, and that was one hard trip, man, over there. And it turned out well for myself. Did the 10-12 or 10-14, 10-36, whatever, and then came back and then
4 attempts that day, right?
940, 986, 10-12 or 14, and 10-36. Yeah. And I came back and I did Bill Carpenter's IPA meet in Dubuque, and then I did an APA meet in December and did 1050, and then turn of the year 2000 and what was it? I don't know. God. Anyway, took up the body weight even further, and I almost hit that 1105. It was real close, but didn't get it. And then it was just too much to carry around. I'm at a self-propelled lawnmower, and I'd make one trip around my lawn, and I was laying in the grass like this with my hands and legs in the air, and cars are driving by thinking I'm having a heart attack. So blood was super thick. I didn't know about bloodletting. So it was just like getting so much to carry around. It was like, I kind of need to get my body weight down. Like I'm pretty far out here with 1075. Mendelsohn, Rich Lack, they're kind of done.
Yeah.
I'm comfortable. Yeah. And then I was like, well, maybe I should, ask for money to do 1100, because this is going to be a short window. I can't do this forever. And I just didn't see where anybody wanted to pay me to do 1100. So that's kind of why I really didn't care. It was like 1075. I'm comfortable. I don't see any threats. And I just kind of like lagged the whole time of doing those 1,000-pound benches. I knew, and I thought about this multiple times. If I was training at Westside, I'd be over 1,200 pounds. If I could train at that gym with that intensity and those type of athletes, I said, because I was training with guys like Sunday barbecue guys. We show up and we trained, but it wasn't intense. Nobody pushed me.
Yeah.
Nobody was benching what I was benching. Nobody could get in my head and do things to fucking fire me up. It was just nonchalant, lay down, and I always knew if I could train in that environment, I would have been a lot better.
Did you ever get to a point where you pushed your weight too much that it did start to impact your health and that you had to pull it back down?
Only in 2015, I got up to 355 again and had AFib.
Okay.
Yeah, I got up one morning, took 4 scoops of Folgers coffee, put it in the coffee pot with 1 cup of water, and it was like Texas sludge. I drank that, then I went out to shovel snow. I made 1 scoop, and I remember I came in, I felt like I had low blood sugar. So I got up, I was going to get some yogurt, and I stood up, and the whole fucking room blacked out, and I went down to 1 knee. And long story short, I was in AFib, so they had to cardiovert me. And they said, you know, if you fuck around, you're at your age at 350 pounds, you're going to 1 foot in a pine box already. So then I got a hold of the gym owner at the time that he had his pro card. And I said, dude, I need to lose weight, but I want to maintain muscle. So I dropped down and got down to like 275, which was too skinny for me. That's like a 5th grader in this world. So I kind of like to hover around 310. But you know, at my age, just getting up over 350 pounds is not a good thing anymore. You know,
There's been no more reoccurrences of the AFib?
No.
So just the one-time cardiovert?
One time, yeah.
No meds or blood thinners?
They had me on blood pressure meds, and they took me off of those. They had me on blood thinners. They took me off of those, so had no issues. It's kind of funny because, you know, I told the story 3 weeks ago. I was cutting down. I was in the process of cutting, and I was 313, and I was like, oh my God, the Arnold's coming up. I can't go out there at 313. So I put on 28 pounds in 3 weeks. I know no one's going to believe that. I was 213 or 313 and then 341 like 2 nights ago. So I was like, this is the heaviest I've been since 2015. And it's huffing, man. Walking that fucking Denver airport, like, it killed me.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm heavy right now, but probably the last time you'll see me this heavy, you know. I don't know if you're familiar with what I'm doing, like, competitive wise, but I've kind of retired.
Yeah.
My lower back, contorting my lower lumbar all those years. People used to ask me, how painful is it to bench 1,000 pounds? I go, the arch is more painful. Because I remember when I contort my lower lumbar, the fucking bones would hit each other.
Well, you're taller too.
Taller. So I'm trying to like cut as much stroke out. It kills my fucking back. And then last year I had stenosis in my C7, 6, and 5 vertebrae. It was pinching a nerve, which made me take out like 315. It would just drop. But I didn't miss a fucking workout. I didn't like say, oh, I can't bench anything, I'm not going to work out. I showed up every goddamn day for 7 months, put on a shirt, and I took it out. I couldn't hold it. I would bring it down, bring it up, and throw it in the rack, but I did the best I could. Got a cortisone shot. It's been fine ever since. So, but I really think that those discs thinning are contributed to years of bringing the weight down, head back, chest up, and pulling that head back and driving those discs into each other. I think that's what fucked my neck up. So yeah, and I've never had a surgery, and I know they want to fuse and they want a disc replace. I just want this cortisone shot to last, and I'm a 2-board champion in the gym right now.
Yeah.
Because anything below 2-board, then I have to start pulling the head back.
Yeah.
And it sucks, but you know, I'm gonna do the best I can, and I'm gonna keep showing up because I'm not a quitter. So
when you were breaking the records before you went to Florida, there's a certain mindset you have to do that, right? So you're willing to die for what you're doing before
absolutely.
this happens.
Well, no, you're invincible at that age.
Exactly, you're invincible, willing to die, and all that. But then you decide, fuck this. How do you deal with that mindset when this is all you fucking want to do and you're risking everything for it? And then you're just like, fuck it, I'm done.
It's hard. The done part's hard.
Well, obviously, because you came back, right?
Yeah.
But how big does that fuse have to be that goes off for you to say, fuck it, I'm walking away, and think that you're actually going to be able to do it at that point?
I don't walk away as far as like no more competing.
Yeah. Because when you went to Florida, originally the intent was probably not to compete again, right?
Not to compete again. No, not until I got in a bar scuffle with somebody. It's real simple to do.
But until then, you were out.
I was out. Yeah, I was done.
Yes.
And I don't know why I walked away. It was my team had abandoned me. There's nobody to train with, and I was getting pissed having to wake up my handoff guy, and I was just like, fuck it. I mean, I'll just move to Florida, far away as I can get from this dump, and just go down there and just be who I am and just do what I want to do. But it took roughly about 4 weeks before I wanted to go back to the gym and train.
Yeah.
I don't know what would have happened if that individual didn't come up to me. I don't know where I'd be. I probably wouldn't be here.
Yeah.
The fact that he came up and wanted to do something and took me to another level and another meet, you know, changed my life. So that fork in the road was an important one in my life.
Yeah.
And I'm glad I took it.
Then when you came back, you're all in again.
All in again. Yeah.
More so than you were before?
More so.
Why?
Having talked to Louis in October of 2001, I got the chain. My buddy had the bands. Then we got the chains. So we trained in Florida up until February. I went to the Arnold from Florida, and my best bench was 733. I show up at the Arnold, I do 739. At the Arnold in front of 7,000 fans, which freaked me out when I walked out there the first time. I about had a panic attack. I walked out on stage and I just lost it. Didn't get my 705 opener. Second time I come out, I got it on video. I'm walking out, wrapping my wrists with my eyes closed. I don't even look at the crowd. And I get the 705. And then I do 739. Mendelsohn does 60, whatever he did. And I was like, I just made a PR. I haven't made a PR in years. I'm stuck at 733, can't get over that, and now I made a 6-pound PR. So I came back and followed the regimen Louis had told me to do, and it was just like a month later, 769. A month and a half later, 785. A month and a half later, 800. And then the 800 kind of fizzled. Then it's like the supplementation, the training, I think something needed to change, and I didn't change anything. But the shirt, after I did the 800, the Rage Exit came out. And then all of a sudden there was, everybody and their grandma could do 800.
Yeah.
You know, the equipment had evolved. So I got with the Rage X and tried to play that game for a while. And then it was Richlack that got me flipped over to the Phenom when he was making his progress. So.
Were there training modifications you made at that time too? Because at some point you need to individualize what Louis told you.
Yeah, unfortunately, the speed bench I actually cut out.
Okay.
How so? Well, nobody knows this. People think that, you know, I probably did. I didn't have anybody to train. I lived an hour away from where I would have to go and travel on Sundays to train with my crew, max effort.
Yeah.
So middle of the week on speed bench day, I would come in, just do 4 sets of dumbbells, push down, some stupid stuff.
Yeah.
Because I was going, we were living on the boards with bands or chains. And the workouts would be 4 hours long. We'd go in and do multiple reps on a board, overload on a board, to the point where after 2.5, 3 hours of board work, all we could do was push downs and go home. And then it was the law of accommodation thing. You do the same exercise for 3 weeks in a row, you go backwards. Yeah. I was able to do the same workout 2 weeks in a row. The third week, I would go backwards. I would come in on a third week and try to do a board press with 1,000. 800 pounds or 700 would feel like 1,000. So I realized I had 2 great workouts, then I had to deload.
So what'd you do on the deload?
315 for 3 sets of 10 raw and some push downs, some rolling dumbbells, stuff like that. But I cut out the speed benching. So
during the week you cut that out. Probably there's no spotter and shit anyhow.
No.
Right?
And what I really worked on too was setup. I would go over on the bench with 315 and I would practice like just going through the protocol, coming all the way back, getting up on my shoulders, putting my legs out, doing that spiel I do, and then taking the weight out and making sure I can see my stomach here. Yeah. Yeah, because I was that fat. So I practice that form and technique just every time out here and
now pressing it or just taking it out?
Taking it out and holding it out here in the line. Okay, that's where it's at. And I would just take it out again. There it's at. The feet are arched. I'm pushing back and just practice that technique because technique rules everything. So
yeah. So pretty much that light day became fluff and buff and technique.
It kind of did. Yeah. I hate to admit that because it sounds like I'm a slacker and I'm not following Louis' protocol, but it worked for me.
Well, on the other day, then you're doing more than max effort too, because you're overloading the shit out of it.
Way more.
So what did that look like? So if you're
what I had was I had a board shirt, I called it. So Inzer would make different chest panel measurements, and one was a 7 or 6 inch chest panel, which was like this. So it was like a 3-board only shirt that I would do like 1100 on 3-board.
Okay.
And I would do like multiple reps, take 10, 15 minute break, couple doubles more, and we just keep going.
Did you go down on the boards during the training or did you go up?
The wave would be 5 weeks out. It would be a 3-board with a board shirt. Then week 4 would be a 2-board with a third attempt shirt. Third week, I think it was deload. 2 weeks out was opener, and I would do my opener to a one board. I never touched in training.
Okay.
I would do an opener to my one board because I knew that Phenom shirt. And if you know, the old school Phenom shirt has so much elasticity in it that when you measured the chest panel seam to seam at its widest point, once you touched a weight in that, say it'd be 7 inches, 1.5 inches it would stretch, and it was worthless to me.
Okay.
So they're one lift shirts at $395 a piece, and I was ordering 4 of those a week, every week. So I'm glad I had Inzer sponsored. Yeah. But then I would do my opener to one board and go to the meet, and I had different chest panel measurements for my openers: 10, 10, 10, 55, 75, and 11 shot. So
each attempt you had a different shirt.
Yep.
Okay. And what if it's the fourth attempt?
Usually the fourth attempt was the 11.
Okay.
So sometimes I would open 9, depending who I'm going against.
Yeah.
950, 1,000, 1,075, 11, or then I tried 1080 one time I tried, and I was like, why do I fuck around with 1080? Just go right to 11. So I would go to 11 and miss it most of the time. So
strategy-wise for those meets, how did you operate there? Because there's money, right? So you could be in a position to where for you to win the money, you may be taking 10 pounds, 15 pounds under your PR.
Yep.
Or you say, fuck it and go for the PR. What did you do?
Well, bench for cash, I had to look around and see who I'm competing against.
Yes.
At the Arnold, I knew who I was competing against. So you kind of have to play the numbers game, where they're going, where you need to go. But Mendelssohn's meet, you know, who's my Tiny would be my competition there sometimes. So sometimes you have to do weights that sometimes you're forced to do weights you can't do to try to win. So I was fortunate enough to have made tremendous progress with the competitors that I went against. I didn't. It wasn't. I don't remember being challenged too many times.
Yeah.
You know, Mendelssohn says he's all mad at me, so I don't want to talk about him. So,
does that change? You know, hasn't that kind of been the same since you guys first started competing against each other?
Yeah, we have a love-hate relationship.
I was going to say, it's a love-hate relationship.
Yeah, it's good. Yeah.
So now he's on the hate side.
No, last time we were down at his meet a couple years ago in December, I drove all the way down there and you know, thought I'd go to his meet and coach the crew that I had, and it's all good, you know. But he keeps bringing up the Ukraine story. So
yeah, well, I watched the podcast that you did with him.
Yeah,
which was there's a weird.
We didn't talk about the Ukraine story.
Yeah,
on there.
There was a weird part where he handed you an empty Sunkist can, and I couldn't figure out what that was about. Because you're eating food, right?
Yes.
And then it's like he hands you this can, which was his empty Sunkist can. And then
Did I take it?
Hell no, you just took it and set it down. At first, I'm thinking they probably have vodka or some shit in there.
I don't even know.
No, it's.
Oh, you talking about his podcast? I did.
Yeah.
I don't. Even,
it's like a 3-part thing.
I was having a panic attack in there. The room was like 4 by 6 feet. I don't like confined spaces. I have to get in this little fucking chair with him right here by my shoulder, and some motorcycle and a motorcycle, and I'm just like, I'm gonna have a fucking. If I can't get out of here in a heartbeat, I'm gonna fucking have a heart attack.
Yeah.
I don't know how I made it through. I just focused on the camera and pretended I was in a room bigger than I was. So, but fuck, that was a good one, but. You know, shortly after that podcast, we walked out into the hallway. Then he copped up an attitude about the fucking Ukraine meet again. Long story short about the Ukraine meet. Yeah, we're all going to the Ukraine. Me, Rob Lawando, Paul Key, Mendelssohn, myself.
Yeah.
Mendelssohn's handoff guys couldn't come. Don't know why. Didn't ask. He wanted my handoff guy to hand off for him. Okay? And I kind of agreed. But as the meet got closer, I'm like, hey, this meet's for like 20 grand. Yeah, do I want my guy helping my competitor beat me? Well, at the warm-ups, we get there, and my handoff guy does hand off for him a couple times. Paul Key offers to hand off for Mendelssohn. Mendelssohn's story is, I told my handoff guy not to hand off for him. So the meet goes on, and you know, and give Mendelssohn credit. He had me beat on the second attempt.
Okay.
I did 982. He had changed his second attempt to 86. No, I had 86. He's doing 982. I thought. Well, he changed. I went out and did 986. He goes out and does 986 and gets on the second attempt. Gets up and looks at me with a smirk. I'm like, Paul, why is he smirking at me? He walks over. He goes, oh, he changed it to 986. He's got you beat on weight because he was 320 and I was 330 or something. So I'm like, oh fuck, you can't win on a fourth. And I already got 1012 or 1014 on the third attempt. And I just did 986. So I'm like a little panicked.
Yeah.
Like this is pressure now. So the way I looked at it was, I was like, okay, 86 and 10, 12 or whatever. That's just like a couple fives and a couple 2.5. That's nothing. And I remember walking out to that fucking third attempt, and I remember Paul handed that weight off to me 4 inches down. I was like, oh, fuck, I got this. That shirt was just loading. And then, of course, Mendelsohn comes out and tries 10:51 on a third. Don't know why. And then threatens to kick my ass on stage, a whole 9 yards. And the after party, I guess we won't go into that. That's personal. But yeah, so basically I fucked him, and he's never lost in his whole life, especially to me. So
Couldn't your liftoff guy giving him the liftoff be a double-edged sword, though?
that's the second part of the one. And I told him that. I told him that after the podcast we did at his gym in the hallway. He got heated with me.
Yeah.
And I said, Scott, if I would have let him hand off for you, you would have still lost, and you wanted to kick his ass. I'd rather you wanted to kick my ass than my fucking handoff partner's ass.
Yeah.
And he just still mumbles, well, okay, it's supposed to be squashed now. We won't talk about it ever again.
Yeah.
Because the story's changed. For the first 10 years, it was I wouldn't let my guy hand off for him. The past 20 years, it's my handoff guy put baby oil in the chalk bucket now. That's why Scott Barfeller, I don't know. I can't make everybody happy, man. I'm just me.
When did you learn that?
Which one?
You can't make everybody happy, because when you were coming up, and actually during that time, we didn't have Facebook, Instagram.
Thank God.
But was it though? Because you got Go Heavy and you got all these other forums, which could be more, they were brutal, but the trolling, actually, there's an art to it too.
There is.
Then there was. I don't know if there is so now.
Yeah, Go Heavy, yeah. Very few people posted in their real names.
Yeah.
They would use anonymous, and they would, whatever. So be it. I it was too much hate to go on there and read. And I can't sit back and dwell on whether people like me or not. I got to move forward, and I'm just going to keep blazing trails, man, like fucking fire through bushes. So. But
at some point that had to bother you.
It did.
As you're coming up, and then you just become callous.
Well, I trolled once. Yeah. I trolled once.
Yeah.
On that Outlaw Powerlifting forum. No.
Okay.
Tommy Fannin. Yeah. I went on there because somebody called me up and said, so-and-so was posting under a fake name. I did a push-pull meet once in my life.
Okay.
I did a 7-something bench, and I pulled 6. What did I pull? 660. I was trying to impress Cara Bohegan. So what are you going to do? But somebody was bashing my deadlift. And it was this person, he said. And I go, well, how do you know that? Oh, because I know it's him. So I trolled under a name. I knew where the individual worked, and started bashing his work. Drew him out like a fucking fire. Yeah, he came out and immediately posted under his real name, and I go, oh, you're right. So I trolled once in my life just to pull somebody out who was talking shit about my deadlift, which to care less. But yeah. But I didn't read into it too much. Actually, Scott Mendelsohn and my mom got into it on Go Heavy. Yeah, my mom got on Go Heavy and was like, because Mendelsohn was talking mad shit about me, and he goes, that's my son. God damn it, he had a head injury when he was 6 years old. He was hit by a motorcycle. Yeah.
So what is the head injury at 6 years old?
I was crossing a street, and I was hit by a motorcycle, cracked my skull, got a 6-inch crack from the back of my cranium to the top. Was in a coma for 2 weeks, came out of it, told me I probably wouldn't live past 18.
How old were you then?
I was first grade, so 6.
6?
Yeah.
So from 6 to 18, you don't know if you're going to live past 18?
That's what my mom told me. Because I had to go in for like scans all the time to make sure my brain was still working. I really think it stunted my growth, because I was a late bloomer. Like I said, I played soccer all my life, and in high school, I wanted to be a pitcher. I wanted to play basketball, but I was 5'6", 135 as a freshman, and when I graduated as a senior, I was like 5'11", 163 or something. I had no athletic ability except for like track and shit. That's not a man's sport. So it wasn't until I got out of about 18, 19, I started to really fill out. So I think that head injury may have done so. I can't prove it. But it fucked up my pituitary or my testosterone. I don't think was an issue, because I think I went through puberty all right. But but just some reason my shoulders didn't broaden, and I didn't really man up until like 19 or something. It was weird. Yeah,
but then you end up being over close to 400 pounds.
Yeah, could have.
Yeah, so that works. Let's take a bathroom break real quick, and we'll come back and talk more training. Today's episode is brought to you by First Attachment. Are you looking for a supplement brand that truly understands hardworking athletes? Look no further than First Attachment. 1D's real world experience is what I would consider and they consider battle tested. I have known Justin Harris for pretty close to 2 decades. And if there's anybody that I trust with nutritional and supplement needs, it's Justin Harris. If you guys have followed me and have followed the podcast, you pretty much already know how I feel about the supplement industry. For me to get behind any brand, I have to trust the brand and I have to trust the person both. And I'm pretty sure you guys all know why. When it comes to creating formulas and putting products on the market, and there's nobody that I trust more than Justin Harris. While I love all of their products, I'd suggest that you check out the Field Rations and WTH first. Go to www.firstdetachment.com and use the code TableTalk10 to save 10% off each order. The link is in the description. Merck Health is a premium telehealth platform specializing in hormone optimization and preventative medicine. Are you looking to optimize your health in and out of the gym, improve recovery, sex drive, and quality of life? Have you tried speaking to your health professional about this and have gotten the cold shoulder, stereotyped, or just told it's part of getting older? You just go to americhealth.com/table talk and you can create your own lab, or you can take labs that we've had set up for them, which are based upon the same labs that I've been doing over the last 15 years. Or you can use their guided optimization. With this, they'll put you in touch with a patient care coordinator, which is actually pretty cool because you get to sit down and speak to somebody that can understand what you're looking for from hormone optimization and the preventative medicine standpoint. After that conversation, they'll determine which labs that you should and which tests you should have done, and then from there, get the labs done. They'll review those labs with you and put you in touch with one of their hormone optimization specialists that can determine which supplementation that you should use over the counter or prescription. americhealth.com/table talk. The discount code is table talk.
Today's episode is brought to you by EliteFTS.com. Founded in 1998 with the primary aim to live, learn, and pass on. Please help Elite FTS support this mission by smashing the like button, leaving a comment, sharing with a friend, and thinking of us for your training needs. If you can put it in a gym bag or load weights on it, Elite FTS has it.
What's going on? I'm Dave Tate. We are broadcasting from the middle of the Elite FTS weight room, where the underground still thrives and you're part of the crew. It's time to sit down, keep it Today's episode is brought to you by First Attachment. Are you looking for a supplement brand that truly understands hardworking athletes? Look no further than First Attachment. 1D's real world experience is what I would consider and they consider battle tested. I have known Justin Harris for pretty close to 2 decades. And if there's anybody that I trust with nutritional and supplement needs, it's Justin Harris. If you guys have followed me and have followed the podcast, you pretty much already know how I feel about the supplement industry. For me to get behind any brand, I have to trust the brand and I have to trust the person both. And I'm pretty sure you guys all know why. When it comes to creating formulas and putting products on the market, and there's nobody that I trust more than Justin Harris. While I love all of their products, I'd suggest that you check out the Field Rations and WTH first. Go to www.firstdetachment.com and use the code TableTalk10 to save 10% off each order. The link is in the description. Merck Health is a premium telehealth platform specializing in hormone optimization and preventative medicine. Are you looking to optimize your health in and out of the gym, improve recovery, sex drive, and quality of life? Have you tried speaking to your health professional about this and have gotten the cold shoulder, stereotyped, or just told it's part of getting older? You just go to americhealth.com/table talk and you can create your own lab, or you can take labs that we've had set up for them, which are based upon the same labs that I've been doing over the last 15 years. Or you can use their guided optimization. With this, they'll put you in touch with a patient care coordinator, which is actually pretty cool because you get to sit down and speak to somebody that can understand what you're looking for from hormone optimization and the preventative medicine standpoint. After that conversation, they'll determine which labs that you should and which tests you should have done, and then from there get the labs done. They'll review those labs with you and put you in touch with one of their hormone optimization specialists that can determine which supplementation that you should use over the counter or prescription. AmericHealth.com/Table Talk. The discount code is Table Talk.
Today's episode is brought to you by EliteFTS.com. Founded in 1998 with the primary aim to live, learn, and pass on. Please help Elite FTS support this mission by smashing the like button, leaving a comment, sharing with a friend, and thinking of us for your training needs. If you can put it in a gym bag or load weights on it, Elite FTS has it.
What's going on? I'm Dave Tate. We are broadcasting from the middle of the Elite FTS weight room, where the underground still thrives and you're part of the crew. It's time to sit down, keep it real, and cut the bullshit. Welcome to Table Talk. And we're back. Are we back? Yeah, we're back. Okay. One thing I want to circle back to is just the mindset a little bit, because I competed for 2 decades, right? And it's an understatement to say that it was my first priority. It was my first priority, and then everything else was a vast second for 2 decades, right? So you have to have, I think, you have to have that mindset to be able to push those upper limits. When did you start to realize that's all you wanted to do?
When I moved back from Florida in 2002, I moved in with my grandfather.
Okay.
The minute I got there, he got Alzheimer's dementia. I took care of him for 3 years. 2005, he passed away. After that, I kind of didn't know what to do with myself because I had a lot of free time. That was a 23-hour-a-day job taking care of him.
But you're still competing during that time.
I'm still competing, yeah. I'm not 100% into it.
Okay.
I'm trying to balance a long distance relationship with Kara.
Yeah.
And then I'm trying to figure my life out, what I'm supposed to do. And that's when I realized my grandfather would want, because he would come to my meets with his cowboy hat on and be my biggest supporter. So I was like, he would want me to be a world champion. So how am I going to do this? And I lived alone at the time. No girlfriends, had lifting buddies, but no friends. I would shop at Walmart at midnight. I didn't want to interact because then I started moving up in body weight. Mm-hmm. I was like a Bigfoot in this little 18,000 population town. And I just didn't like this judgmental society we live in. People stare at you with a fucking stink eye. I know it when it's on me. I can feel it right behind me if somebody was hitting me up with it. And I'm a big guy, and I get stared at and I get judged. So I don't really like to interact with normal people in society. So I shop late at night. And then I realized, how am I going to put this together? How am I going to be number one? Well, I need a bench shirt. Well, a supplementation. And I would get on my finger. I would go eating, sleeping, training, supplementation, and technique, and the whole hand is genetics. Yeah. So I have to maximize all those benefits. How am I going to maximize my training, my eating, my sleeping? Well, I got the CPAP. Supplementation. How am I going to take the supplements to make them work correctly so I peak at a contest, not 2 weeks in the gym, have my best lift, but peak at the show where it needs to count. So these are all things I'm trying to figure out. And that's when I really started dialing it together. And I lived alone. I had a cat, and there was no shit. I would get up, and when I was working my way up with my CPAP machine, I would get up I would eat 15,000 calories a day. And people will say, well, how do you do that? Well, Mendelsohn helped me with the shakes. 4 1875 shakes a day is pretty close to 10,000. And then the rest was food. It was red meat and chocolate cream pies. I had discounts at Burger King. One Burger King story I will tell. I know I said earlier, I walk in, I say employee discount, and I get it a lot. Well, one day I came in at 360 after a bicep workout, and it's every bit of this. And apparently it was the manager, young kid. And I said, employee discount. My eyes half shut because I'm swollen and bloated. And the poor guy with his hand like this, grabs the keys and they're jingling like bells. He puts it in the register and says, I'm going to give you the manager discount, $2.16, sir. That's the last time I did it. Yeah. But no, I quickly realized living alone, I'm going to go 110% in. And when I blocked everything out, no distractions. It's like sitting. It's almost like being locked up in jail, or so to speak. You know, your mind works differently when you have nothing distracting you. Nothing. So you focus 110% into what you want to do and how to do it, and that's how I accomplished it.
Yeah.
So
now. Here's the follow-up question to that is, when that begins to fade away, how do you deal with it? Or when it's taken away? You know, it could be injury, it could be for a lot of people, it's a lot of different things, because that then becomes your identity.
Yeah, you know, well, it's kind of like I said, well, coming out to the Arnold, I came out here in 2020 and I was like, nobody's going to remember me.
Yeah.
And I came out here and people remembered me. It's been a while. You know, I'm an old timer now. I'm a has-been. I'm a used to be. I always say it on my show, my Benchmonster TV show.
Yeah.
But people say, you know, I'm a legend, and it makes me feel good. Yeah. You know, I did my best I could. You know, but eventually, you know, my body catches up with me and it's showing me signs, and I have to pay attention to those signs. I mean, I don't want to die tomorrow. So, injury, I really didn't suffer. I tore my pec, I said, you know, in 2003. That was a long time ago. But I never really got injured in the Phenom shirt, and with my technique, it was precision. Like I said, I would practice it on a light day, just constantly practicing technique, bringing it down and doing everything in a straight line. So, but eventually, you know, my lower back caught up with me. My L5S1 started getting herniated, and that was painful. I couldn't make that big arch anymore. So this is all leading up to how I had to basically retire.
Yeah.
So I can't make that big arch anymore. And then the doctor's saying if I get up to 350, I'm 2 feet in a pine box, more AFib, more heart problems. And that's where my best benches are, at 350. At 310, I mean, I'm lean, I'm skinny, I have more bar travel.
Yeah.
I'm a tall guy, so. And then my stenosis in my neck kicked in last year, and that shot me down. So then I got depressed. I really did. My mom passed away that year. I was just like, man, my back, my neck. I mean, I want to compete. People ask, when are you competing next? Oh, you know, whatever. But I realized, why the fuck I want to go out there at 310 or 320 and yeah, these band shirts are great, but I want to do what Jimmy Kolb's doing. I want to be at that fucking level. I don't give a fuck about 1,100. There are 20 people that are on 1,000 pounds now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get under 1,000 pounds, it doesn't even give me a hard on anymore. I don't even get excited. It doesn't mean nothing. You know, I want to do 1350 with Kolb. I can't go there. I know goddamn well if I go there, I won't be here very long. So,
but a part of you wants to.
Goddamn, it does.
You see what I'm saying?
And that's why I said, you know, I put 28 pounds on in the past 3 weeks. Two and a half nights ago, I stood on my scale, and it was at 340 and 341. And it usually would, once you hit that body weight, it flashes. You can get off and take a picture of it. It wouldn't flash or hold. It was actually 340, 341, and then the LCD would blur. So I don't know how heavy I was, but it made me think. It's like, that's the heaviest I've been since 2015.
Yeah.
And it's been hard to walk around. It's a lot to carry around.
But then there's the other side of your head right now that's asking yourself, why in the fuck you just did it?
Exactly.
So you see what I'm saying? Yeah. So I live in this world, by the way. So you know,
I figure, yeah.
How you trying to reallocate the focus?
I still come in the gym and I still do whatever I can do. Being on the coaching side of it now is tough. It's hard to sit back and watch because this is what I love to do. I've been doing it for 25 plus years. So and people wanted me to do this last man standing thing at the Arnold. There's only one thing I want to do. It's get to 360 pounds and compete against Kolb. That's what I want to do. That's where the adrenaline, that's where the it factor is for me. It doesn't lie anywhere beneath that. And I'm sorry. I know it's not a cop-out. It doesn't tickle me with a feather to do anything less. Yeah, I want to be the best in the world. So, and I know that in order to do that, I know what I have to do, and I'm just cutting years off my life. So, yeah. So I still want to do things like my first love was fishing, before I even lifted a weight. Yeah. So, and I got a fancy boat, and I just hardly get out to use it anymore. And I figure all this benching eventually will catch up to where I can't make casts anymore because I'll have fucked up shoulders. But I went 1,003 the other night off a two board. It wasn't a pretty lift, but I still try to train with my guys. I figure I really feel when I'm coaching them, if I don't put forth an effort to, and I really don't want to go that heavy anymore.
Yeah.
I don't, man. But but they're doing it, and I don't want to be an example of doing anything less, because I think, in my mind, weakness breeds weakness, and I don't want a weak link in the chain. So being the coach, I want that hardcore mentality, and I'm willing to put the bar on there even when I don't want to do it, to just to show them that I'm still at the top of the totem pole. So,
well, when you were doing this, training partners were a bitch, right? Because you said you had to deal with that.
Weak-minded people. I used to tell in the beginning, psychologically reading people.
Yeah.
I would say, they have no idea what I'm doing to them. I was like, hey, you're about to enter the ring with Mike Tyson. What's the first thing that goes through your mind? I'm gonna get knocked the fuck out. Well, you got a defeatist attitude.
Yeah,
you're no good to me. If your attitude should be, I'm gonna go in there and give that motherfucker everything I got and kick him when he's down. That's the kind of mentality of people I want on my crew. And it's hard to find that. And it's real hard to find people to want to come in the gym and do this crazy stuff. It's commitment. I'm not the nicest person. I have a philosophy. You don't miss workouts unless you're dead, in jail, in hospital, or have COVID now. Otherwise, you fucking be there, because I rely on you to be there. 3-man handoffs, board holders. This is a team effort. So I don't like people that miss workouts. And I've never missed one unless I had COVID or was in jail or dead. And I haven't been dead yet, so.
Yeah. So are you finding that role is satisfying the other role that you may not be able to do?
A little.
Yeah.
The fact that I still get under 1,000 and move it still keeps me happy up here a little bit. I think the minute I come in and only go up to 700 in a shirt and do reps and stay there, it will be too depressing, and I'll probably turn to a drug habit. So
yeah.
If I can't come in there, and put 1,000 into a board press, then it's going to be a tough one to swallow. I'm being honest.
Yeah.
I'm not there yet, but there's nights I go in there and I don't want to do it. But my guys, they're pushing maximal effort, and I don't want to be there and just put 700 in the bar for me. No, I'm going to put on the same amount of weight, most that I can do, and so that pushes them.
Well, and you can now be that person that wasn't always there when you were doing it.
True.
Right?
That's true.
So it's, if you had one person that was a crackhead, I heard you talk about, you can't really rely on that person to help you.
No.
You can't rely on a person. You have to go there and get them out of bed on Saturday morning.
No.
So
these guys show up, and I'm hard on them. I'm nothing nice. I mean, and I enjoy inflicting physical pain. We do a lot of rolling dumbbells. We do a lot of Tate. We call these Tate presses. So I don't. We call them after you.
Yeah, whatever.
But all these things irritate their tricep extensors back here. And I remember Dan Logman on my team. He wakes up at 3 a.m. His triceps do, and they scream my name. How much they hate me. So that gets me off. So I just I enjoy inflicting pain, because it's going to make them mentally, physically tougher. The harder I am as a drill sergeant to them, and they're gonna be cut with granite when I'm done. So
with the crew that you have right now, how long have they been consistent?
People come and go. People come in, try it out and come and go. But I think Dan's 3 or 4 years. My handoff guy, Ryan Hines, has been 2 or 3 years, and they've been consistent. We got some new people. They've been consistent. I'm a little hard on them when they miss workouts for babysitting reasons or something, but that's just, I don't hold anything back in the gym. In fact, I'm known to walk in the gym, and we got a little private training facility. We got a lot of new people, and I don't like new people that play on their fucking phones and sitting on equipment. I'm known to walk through the door when I pull into the parking lot. I don't have my VIP parking spot up front, and I got to park where I got to walk an extra 25 feet. I walk through the door, and I open the door, and this is just me. All you weak motherfuckers, get the fuck out of the gym. The Benchmonster crew is here. And I hold up my fist, and I get dirty looks. So I'm not out to make everybody happy.
Yeah.
Loved by few, hated by many. I've always said that. So.
What do you have them do training-wise that was different than what you did?
I basically put them through the speed bench method, the old school 9x3s, or when we're more than 12 weeks out, they do the 6, 6, 8, 8, 10, 10 volume thing.
Yeah.
We go the 9x3s, but the problem is I found with that is I tell them, 40 to 45% of your 1 rep max raw. That's going to be with bands. 50 to 55 is going to be with chains. A lot of times I tell them the 40, 45, and they're kind of like, they're using too much bar weight, because I have a velocity meter, but I've done it so long I can look and count the seconds. And a lot of times it's moving too slow and I don't say nothing. So it's kind of, I think it's counterproductive. But basically, if I guinea pig them, I try a lot of different things. I find out how hard I can push them until after every heavy max effort workout, I ask them, how were you tonight? 90%, 100%, 80%? Oh, I was about 80. So I listen to feedback. And a lot of that speed benching is a lot of shoulder jolt jarring stuff. And we found that toning it down, cutting it back, and not doing it is really impacted their max effort workouts. Now they're having better max effort workouts. So, and they haven't lost any speed per se. The fact that they're not doing speed benching, but
what are you having them do instead on that day?
We do 225 on the bench, 4 sets of 10, or dumbbells. I try to have them do the dumbbells a little faster, but the tricep work is all the same. High volume. I like to do 1 palms facing, 1 palms away. I love adding hanging kettlebells. I love adding different types of resistance to the bar, different angles, always switching it up. And then usually I'll throw a wrench in the wheel, like on a 4th set of rolling dumbbells, have them do slow eccentrics on the last one. Just break it up a little bit. And then max effort day, we've been stuck on board presses a little too long. I'm a little worried. We've got the meet coming up on March 18th, and we've been doing a lot of straight bar, 2 board, straight bar, 1 board, straight bar touching. And I think that there's a lot of law of accommodation there. I know the board's only that thick, but it's almost the same movement, and it's how it affects them on every Tuesday I'm monitoring. We have a deload next week, and then they have their opener, and then they're going to show. So hoping everything works out. But usually I like to throw in a floor press, max effort, a reverse band, a decline, a slingshot, or something. Well, we've been stuck on the flat bench 2 board quite a bit, so we'll see. But I used to do boards constantly too for weeks in a row.
Are these all shirt benches or
shirt
any
benches?
Of them raw?
Nobody's raw.
Okay, so it's all shirt benches.
Shirt. So it's all the band shirt game.
Okay, so it's all band shirts that you have them using. Did you find, even with you messing with them now, that you have to change your technique in that compared to the Phenom?
Yeah, the band shirt game is totally different.
So what do you have to do different?
Well, I'm beginning to wonder, and we tried this before, the old school Canelli max effort or speed bench. I think that still applies. One of my individuals is a 440 raw bencher, 250 body weight. Speed benching is going to benefit him. This band shirt game, where people are getting 500 plus carryover over their raw bench, I don't think the speed benching, the raw 45%. I don't know. I'm sure it's beneficial, but what we tried to do was use bench bands on speed day and tried to use 300, 365, 405. We found out that was killing them on max effort day, so we kind of dropped all that. So it's a kind of a ebb and flow thing. Like, okay, it's not working, we're changing it. This is working, let's keep it. But how long is this going to work? Like, how long is this? What we're doing now, is it going to work? Are they going to come in next week and fall flat on their face, even though it's a deload? What's their opener going to look like in 2 weeks? I think they're going to be fine. Yeah, because I think deload openers is how I ran my events into a meet. So
yeah, what I've seen people do, because the discrepancy is so large between the raw and the band shirt, that they would use a lighter, just sling, whatever you want to call the band thing, a Widowmaker or whatever the hell it is, Bench Daddy, whatever, for their speed work to kind of bridge that gap. But some people do exactly what you just said. They can't recover for the max effort work because that's now heavier.
Yeah, we tried different amounts. One thing that concerned me was, and I don't have a small bench. Well, I do, but I always break out a pretty heavy duty bench band, and and when we're doing 300 pounds or 375, at the bottom, the bar's not touching their chest, so it's almost zero. Yeah. So I don't think that's beneficial. So we kind of kicked that to the curb. And speaking of band shirts, I remember being in here in 2020 at an XPC meet here, and I remember seeing him for the first time. And I saw a guy, 220, I was talking about this earlier, at 220 body weight. I was out there watching. He was in a Womack band shirt. At 220 body weight, doing 850. When I was at Daytona in 2001, George Halbert was there at 220. He did 698, 711, and a 733. It's the most impressive benches, and I still think it's the most impressive benches that I've ever seen. And now I'm looking at a guy at 220 I've never heard of. He's doing 850. I'm like, okay, I realized the game had changed at that point. And then, of course, that was 2020. Look where we're at today. I mean, you can't turn on Facebook anymore without having some guy, doing another 1,000-pound bench. So it's weird. It's interesting. It's you know, I don't want to sound like a bitter old man, you know, because I'm old school. I'm a phenom guy, you know, and I never really got to play with the band shirts at my prime age and body weight. So I'm just, but it's definitely in a whole nother realm. What do you think about it, Dave? What do you think about it?
I've heard both sides. It's like I've been the judge and the jury, you know, on the court here, both different sides. And my perspective's changed a little bit because now it's being seen as unlimited and not multiply.
Right.
So before that broke out, and it was just being counted as multiply.
Right.
And it's not in, you can't use them in the APF WPC.
Okay.
Right? Because you can't use rubber in the bench shirt. And yes, not yet, but I don't think they'll do it. There was a big part of me that, because to learn a multiply shirt, as you know, is a motherfucker. It's a long skill acquisition phase. Some people never, some people never learn it.
That's true.
And then once you actually acquire that skill, you got to maintain it. You can't just put the shirt on and then get out of it for a super long period of time, then come back and think that skill is going to be, it's close, but you got to reacclimate yourself to it. Where in these other ones, people can figure it out in a month.
Right.
A lot of people. And it's like, now, wait a minute. You know, this is taken, because that's what I used to love about the whole multiply game in itself, is you can take, you know, two lifters and say one of them's super genetically inclined, the other one's not. And if they're all raw, you know, or going way back to the old single ply shit, you know, you're never going to beat that genetically inclined person.
Nope.
But now when the gear came around and there's a skill, so now if you work your skill and you develop your skill better than this other person, you can now beat the other person that's more genetically inclined.
Right.
Like you can in any other sport. Like any other sport, wrestling, soccer, whatever it is, the best genetic athlete's not always the best. Why? Because they never developed the skills. You know, so that's what I kind of always liked about the whole gear thing. And then this, and I'm speaking out my ass because I don't do it, right? This shortens that skill, what do I want to say? Skill.
Learning curve?
Learning curve, yeah. Acquisition is what so it shortens that a little bit. That was the original thought, and it was fucking totals up, right? So now when it's being counted as multiply, and you got an all-time world record total, but somebody just picked up 300 more pounds on the bench, and that impacts the total, that's kind of fucked.
It is.
But when they moved it to unlimited, it's like, okay, this is just another game now.
Yeah.
You know, this is so now it's like, that's cool, because now it's the only thing it really fucks up, and this would come back on what your opinion is, the only thing now it really fucks up are going to be the all-time bench only records. You see what I'm saying? So like who beat your 1075?
I give credit to Jimmy Cole.
Yeah. But that was in a different, no, he did that.
He did an Apollo.
He did an Apollo. Yeah. So now if that was all done in the band shirt, you know, I don't know what I'd think about that.
Well, I missed the voting pool. I guess they were casting out votes to people. No one ever rang my walls about my opinion on whether it should be in its own division or should it, you know, and I was never had any say on that. So I'm glad they made it their own division. You know, I started with an Inzer Blast shirt for $49. Inzer EH PhD, 2-ply, denim, and then Ragex, Phenom, and then... You know, if I was younger in youth, I'd probably be doing pretty well in the band shirt. But
and I think a lot of because there used to be a year ago, whenever the fuck, because I don't pay that much attention to it, there was a lot of bickering about it. That kind of all died off when it made its own division.
Okay.
It's like, okay,
I agree with you on that.
It's like, whatever, you know, and all the power to him. Jesus Christ, it's fucking 1,350 pounds. Are you fucking kidding me?
I never thought in my life.
Fucking 1,400 pounds. You still got to hold that shit.
Fuck you do.
You know? It's fucking unbelievable.
I thought when I did 800 was a milestone.
Yeah.
You know, then 900,000. I'm like, oh, it's not going any further than that. And then 1,100, 1,200.
Yeah.
It's crazy, man.
Yeah.
It's fun to see. I'm glad that people are doing it, man. It's something, you know, I wish I could do. But the fact that human beings are doing it is just awesome.
Well, I've also heard one person specifically say one of the things that they didn't like about it, and you won't like this because you might kind of fall in that group, is it's taking people that really should be done because their body's telling them to be done, right? And it's like, oh, fuck, here you go. Now you got one more hope. And you stretch it out another 5 or 6 years.
Problem is with that hope, Dave, is I got those band shirts years ago.
Yeah.
And I tried to put them on and tried to bench like I did in the poly, and they didn't work.
That's what I was going to ask, is what has to be done different with that?
Well, and then you got to force your elbows out. I don't bench like that.
So it's like the fucking opposite of everything. Yeah.
And then, of course, if you get a small enough chest panel, you can tuck your elbows somewhat. But that material, when you pull it it's made to stretch this way.
Yeah.
And, and I watched Pharrell, 198 to 1,000. He benches fucking with his elbows 9 and 3. Dude, I'll rip my shoulders and pecs out of their sockets.
I've already ripped.
And so I lost hope with the band shirts. I sat on them for 2 years, and then they kept sending them to me, and eventually I kind of figured out that you need to push outward. I don't like it.
It's different.
I want to do phenom. How come somebody can't make a fucking band shirt that's maybe angled with the material this way, so when you tuck your elbows, it mimics an elbow tucking person?
Have you tried the Dark Side brand?
Yeah, I got a Colossus, and I got a couple. I like them.
Does that do that a little bit? No. So
they a little bit, but the maximum effect is really pulling it out outwards to get it to stretch this way. I don't know.
So how much did that fuck you up when you're trying to teach your guys, right? Because there's
a lot of people just pick it up and it works.
Yeah.
I put them on it, and I'm overthinking, I'm overanalyzing, and I'm putting too much brain power into it. I try to just put it on and go down and it doesn't feel right.
That's because the other shirts were a whole different game. You had to take it out, and then sometimes you had to break your elbows out first, and then tuck into it. It was a different game, right?
Yeah.
So were you doing that when you had the band shirt, like trying to use it like a?
It just scared me because I didn't want to do it the way that you were supposed to. And anytime I tucked my elbows in, I wouldn't get anything out of them. So I just kind of I gave up, and time's passing me by, and. Eventually, I got some tighter shirts, and they kind of worked, but it's just I never could really get them totally figured out. But I've seen people just pick them up, and it's just like riding a bike. They just hop in them, and they work for them. So I've always had problems, and I always just never perfected them. So
outside of peaking your bloat for the Arnold, which you just accomplished, congratulations!
Thank you very much.
What's the next training goal?
Oh, well, to be honest with you, it's to drop body weight.
Yeah.
Get healthy, take care of the heart, liver, kidneys, all that stuff that I put through wear and tear over the years. So how are you going to define get healthy? Are you getting your blood work done now? Not right now. I wouldn't get it done. No. Probably have to wait on that one.
Yeah.
I'm going to get back and I have a diet. I've been down to 275 with veins popping out of my shoulders and everywhere else. So I don't want to get down that low because I still like to walk around society and piss people off being a big person. So 290, 295, a little filled out with more carbs. So basically, and I can, just as fast as I put on 28 pounds in 3 weeks, I can take it off in 3 weeks. It just falls off one way or another, just controlling what caloric intake I have. So
when you came down before, did you change your training for bodybuilding, or did you stay?
No, I tried to powerlift, and it destroyed, my strength levels were destroyed.
Yeah.
I mean, I was 350. I went to like 4 meals a day, and one was a salad, and I got down to 330, and it stayed there for like 2 months. How the fuck I'm eating 4 meals and I'm stuck at, I don't know anything about dieting. So I had to hire a dietitian. He gives me a diet plan, and it's like got 5 or 6 meals on it. And they're like, how the fuck? I'm eating 4 and you want me to eat 5? I'm going to lose weight. I threw it in the corner again. Eventually, he was giving it to me for free, which I really appreciate. He charges $500 for these 10-week programs. Took it, went to Walmart, bought the ingredients, was on the treadmill doing my power walking in the morning on empty stomach, and it just went choo, choo. I mean, I was down to 310 in like 6 weeks. Then I started getting a cheat meal, and then I really like how I felt, but the whole time I was like coming in on max effort day and with a gas tank half full because I was getting 300 carbs a day. So I come in, I get a couple max effort lifts, and then I'm just empty. So then I'm like, maybe I should carb up the day before. It didn't matter how 2 days before I would carb up. It was just at that lighter body weight, I just suck. I mean, I'm not super supplementating at that body weight. I mean, just taking stuff to look pretty. Yeah. But no, my strength just takes a horrible dive. So I have to look forward to that. I still will try to always get under 1,000 pounds, no matter if it crushes me. So be it. I mean, I'll have to deal with it. But, health is important. I'm not 27. I'm not 33 anymore. And this month I have a birthday. And it's getting closer to halfway mark of 100. So, yeah, too close. So,
well, that 1,000 pounds can always go on, instead of a 2 board, it can be a 3 board. Right?
Yeah.
So you can always work the boards up, and you can always use board shirts or band shirts.
Yeah.
So you can always find.
Well, another
ways.
problem is I don't have any band shirts that probably fit me at 308 or below. So I'm hoping that I think Rob Farrell has a turn-in policy where you can send him your old shirts and he'll give you, because they're expensive. I'll have a lot of old shirts that won't fit me at 330 or 40 anymore. So hopefully I can get a downgraded size and still be able to put one on and add a lighter body weight. So.
Do you work with people online at all?
As far as coaching?
Yeah.
Very little. I was really heavy into it. Had about 10 people is all I can handle, because I'm not an Excel spreadsheet fucking guy. I crunch all numbers with a calculator. I'm old school. I put it's all blood and sweat into these programs, and it's videos from each workout, assistant exercises videos. I got to see their form tech. It's a hard job. It's not just click and print and have a good day.
Yeah.
So I was doing that for a while, and long story short, I hired a client in Seattle. He came down. I gave him a 3-hour walkthrough of 40 different tricep exercises. We videoed him for him. And he went back, and I was training with an individual by the name of Tim Smith at the time. He moved to Seattle for a job, ended up training at the same gym the guy was that I was coaching online. Well, Tim and I would do a lot of Facebook Live videos when we were training. And so I would sit at home, click on Facebook, Facebook Live, Tim Smith. And he's in there training with the guy I'm coaching, and he's not using the right bands, he's not using the right chains, he's not using the bar weight. So long story short, he doesn't do anything I've told him to do. And then Tim tells me he doesn't even show up on max effort day. And after 10 or 12 weeks, I max him out, he doesn't make any progress. Now, with social media, this asshole can go online and say, Kennelly coached me, and his fucking programming sucked. So what I did is I refunded him half his money. Now it scares me to touch people that aren't going to do it seriously, because I prefer people that are not drinking, not doing meth, and putting 110% into what they're doing. Because if I'm going to give you 110%, and I don't charge a lot. I mean, I remember a long time ago somebody said, Mendelson, $500 just to talk to him on the phone. And I'm like, what the fuck? I charge like $350 for a 10 or 12 week training program, and it's hard. I got to sit down and watch all these videos, and I got to critique them, and I wish it was easier, but maybe I should charge more. I don't know. So I kind of don't do it as much because I'm scared that who I take on doesn't do it correctly or has an outside drug habit and somehow doesn't make progress. And then, John Smith said you coached him and your shit didn't work. And so I'm scared about my image and my name and who I am. So I do it. I have a powerlifting crew right now of, I don't know, we just took a team picture the other night. What do we got? 12 people, something like that. Yeah, some women and men and a wide variety of people, shapes and sizes. So
the consulting could be an option, because if you go back to how you learned, you called Louie.
Yeah.
Right?
I did.
I mean, so that could be a service that you could offer. It's just
I never thought about
that type of thing, because that's kind of how we all learned it. If I go back to my 2 decades competing, you learn from people talking to them at meets.
True.
Or you got to hold them on the phone. Like, dude, what are you doing? What's working for you?
Right.
And you're just kind of going back and forth with that.
I like that, because when I get down to the actual I stress too much.
Yeah.
I don't need any stress in my life. I mean, I can't get enough Xanax, so I worry. Like, okay, are they doing it correctly? Is he doing it correctly? What about him? And I got 10 people with 10 different strengths and weaknesses that I have to work with. So I kind of sidelined it a little bit. I still do a few, but it's just nerve wracking, because I'm serious about what I do, and I just don't want my name tarnished anymore.
With the mindset going back there, did you ever use visualization or anything like that?
Visualize? What do you mean by visualization?
Just visualization, like visualizing the lift before you were doing it, just mental rehearsal.
That's what my Tuesday speed bench work. Yeah, it was going over the technique over and over, because my handoff partner, my 3-man handoff, they knew where to set it. It was perfect every time. So I knew once they set it there, I knew what to do in the shirt. I knew where to pull the sleeve down behind the arm. I mean, I had it dialed. Yeah. And I had a method that really worked, and it was flawless. I mean, that's why I was most consistent bencher out there. I would go out there and I think in total I've done 28, I've attempted 1,000 pounds or more 28 times all over this planet, and I've completed 18 of them. So it's like a 62.4%,
which is good. That's really fucking good.
That's pretty good for
with multiply shit. That's really good.
And phenoms. So
because I've judged a lot of the meets, and it's I remember because there was a weird funky ass phase, and you might have been a part of that, where the denims were just starting to come in, and everybody was bombing everywhere because it was just ridiculous what the fuck was going on with that. I remember judging one meet at that time, and after the openers, I just flipped the reds on the switch and just threw it on the ground, and then never bent over once to pick it up.
Oh shit!
Because everybody, denim was a different beast at that time,
totally
right?
different.
So this is before like the Phenom and the more stretchier stuff. Actually, the Phenom may have come before the denim, right? About the same time.
What's the same time? Yeah, the first denim I had was in '98.
Yeah.
And I couldn't afford it. And my handoff guy, he was like $300 some bucks, and he got one. Mm-hmm. And he was $275, and I was $260, so I kind of could fit into it. But yeah. But we didn't know anything about, you just sent in your bicep or your shoulder and your chest, and Inzer sent you a shirt.
Yeah.
And so, and it didn't give you like tremendous carryover, like 40, 60, 60
No,
70 pounds or
like
something.
it was like Rage X just fucking just stopped. You know, you do whatever you want to do, it fucking just stops.
Yeah.
You know? Like,
I've had that happen.
Yeah. Like, what the fuck?
And it was George Halbert, at the Bench for Cash, where I saw him with the back cut open.
Yes.
And I knew there was something there. I knew there was a technique there that I needed to have. And so I cut the back of my shirt, and I started manipulating the pulling the neck down. And then I got that shirt banned from Wabdell, because Gus Ruthwich called me and he goes, Kennelly, what do you think about cutting the back of those denim shirts? And I go, well, Gus, he said, when I cut them open and I pull it down, I get more out of them. Oh, they're banned. Banned.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, fucking banned. Yeah. Should never said anything.
Yeah. Is the Federation even around anymore?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Nah, I think he's doing all right. I got his phone number, and I never call him. He was the one that got me in the first Arnold, too. And without him, I don't know where I would have started. I mean, if I wouldn't have done a Wabdell meet in 1997, USAPL was the only thing out there.
Yeah.
So I'm glad my path of life took me to where it did, and kind of happy with everything that I've done. I know Mendelsohn says, "Oh, I got no regrets, bro." No.
Yeah.
Yeah. If I go back and do it all over again, I would have changed my training, and it would take me, instead of 14 years to bench 1075, I probably could have done it in 7.
How would you have changed it? Because while you did the dynamic work, you pulled it back out.
I would imagine. I don't think starting out West Side in 1990 when I was a sophomore, I think I needed to bench every day like I did. I didn't know any better.
Yeah.
And I had a buddy that worked at GNC, so I'd pull up to the mall at 6 o'clock, and he would just load up my car with the whole store. So I had Mega Mass 4000, Hot Stuff, Yohimbe, Agent Orange, all that bullshit, Ultimate Orange. So we were taking handfuls of amino acid pills.
Agent Orange.
Agent Orange. Ultimate Orange, right?
Yeah.
With the real ephedra in it.
Yeah.
The Thermodrine and the fucking shit that makes you like this, they don't have anymore. Agent Orange. Cybergenics, the box with the tape in it. Yeah, whole like I had a dresser drawer thing that was probably 2.5 feet wide, like this table, 7 feet long, wooden top. You couldn't see the wood. I had everything in that store on top of there. And before we would go work out, we would just take this, a handful of pills. That Mega Mass 4000 was the worst fucking protein. It tasted like dirt and fucking chocolate cocoa powder or something. But we didn't know any better. We wanted to get big. So yeah, and I think going in and doing that, it would change another thing that changed my bench career was I was walking up to the gym, this gym I started at, 95, and I was these two old timers. I call them old timers in my book. They were 40 at the time. Old timer. I'm 20, and I'm like, guys, I can bench 315 for 10. I can't get past it. I've been doing it. I can't do it anymore. And he goes, well, how many times can you squat it? And I go, once. And they go, that's your problem. So I switched gyms and I started squatting and got my squat up to like 500, and I was using Ace bandages for knee wraps, and sure enough, got my squat up to 500, my bench took off. So I quickly realized you can't just come in and do upper body all the time and neglect your lower. And I didn't know any better. I thought you just benched every day. So
where did you keep that when you were pushing the world records? Obviously you didn't push it over was there a maintenance that you had to keep the lower body work at?
Yeah, because I still relied a lot on leg drive.
Yeah.
So I did a lot of leg press.
Okay.
Yeah, I didn't squat. Bar on my back.
Yeah.
Unless I didn't have a meet for weeks, I would put a bar on my back. But I live on the leg press, and I would still train them because I had to shoot with those legs. So I didn't neglect them. But that's one thing that changed. And then I think if at that point, I think that had my bench up at 400 raw and 460 in a shirt. I think if I would have had the bands and chains and the correct methods then, you know, it wouldn't have taken me that long to get 800. It wouldn't take me that long to go to 1,075, but that's neither here nor there. I can't do anything about that. But what I can do is teach others the methods, because nobody was helping me. No Ryan Kennelly, you know, was coming in and helping. I was reading bodybuilding magazines, trying to figure out sets and reps. And I figured you get some steroids, you're going to look just like those guys in those magazines.
Yeah.
That never happened either. So
why do the 650 raw at a time when nobody was doing raw?
Inzer, you know, the Inzer story, stole my website. He stole ryankennelly.org.com.net.
Did not know that.
Did not know that. No, after I benched my 800, Wes Campen pulled me aside and says, Kennelly, you're first man to do 800. We need to write a book. You know, you got to have a website. And I'm, oh, okay, sure, I know. And then a day later, he calls me up. He goes, you know what, Ryan? You can't even own your own website. I go, what do you mean? Your name's been taken by John Inzer. So we went to register.net or something. I looked it up. Inzer Advanced Designs owned it. Called up John Inzer. I said, John, you got my site. You know, I want my shit. He goes, oh, it's here anytime you want it. You know, I did the same thing for Ed Cohn. And long story short, he never gave it up. And at one point, he designed a website, but it was controlled by him. There was no free speech. He had it set up so if somebody would type raw, it would show up as shit or a different word. And I was like, fuck that shit. So Wes Campen said, here, you're going to be Monster Bencher, Benchmonster, or King Bencher. And I'm just like, I have to make a decision. I hated the fucking nickname. I didn't like it. It wasn't until like 2004 where I started to like it a little bit. But yeah, that's kind of where was I going with that? I get off topic a lot. I start telling stories.
No, this is interesting because what this is bringing up is before the internet had social media, right? And if you were a sponsored athlete, your narrative, your story was basically controlled by whoever the sponsor was,
right?
Which is kind of what's happening here. And it's the same thing the magazines were doing with the bodybuilders, right? So you're kind of handcuffed in a way, but in another way, you're not, because the exposure's out there, but you're not able to tell your own story,
True.
Right? Where one good thing about the social media and the way it's come is now the lifters can tell they can tell their own fucking story.
True.
Now, if they suck at telling the story, that's one thing.
Right.
Right? But the ones that are good at telling the story, which sometimes aren't the best lifters, you know, that's a balance there. You know, where sometimes the not so good lifters are going to be more popular because they can tell a better story. But which is worse, not being able to control your story? You see what I'm saying?
I got you there, yeah.
Yeah, so there's pros and cons of everything.
Right.
But the question was about the raw, the 650 raw.
650 raw. Well, at that time, Inzer and I were no longer. He didn't. His phenom material had changed in 2011, 12, or 13.
Yeah.
He changed the material because the shirt was a one lift shirt, and he told me on the phone. He's like, Ryan, you know, I send these shirts out, and they're doing a lift in them, and they're sending them back, and it costs us more money to take them apart and make them tighter again. So what he did is he changed the material. Now the material only stretches a ½ inch, and then it's still usable. You can still get multiple lifts out of it. So his shirt, and I tried to talk to Peter Thorne, his right-hand man, about, I need stretchier material. I need that. Oh, we can't get that. It doesn't exist on this planet. Yeah, it does. You just don't want to get it because it's a one-use shirt and yada, yada. So I gave up on him. And then I was just like, oh, let's try some raw thing. I'll train for it for 4 weeks. That's about how much I put into it. And I did that 680 touch and go in the gym. And a week later, I just opened with 650. And I was a little pissed because I didn't really want to pause. I just want to come down controlled and just do it. And it's not the most prettiest lift, but yeah. I just go out there and do it. I don't know why. It was just one of those things. Like I didn't have any more shirts to wear to do the phenom thing because I think I'd given them all away. Because I thought Inzer and I did get back together in like 2014, and I'm like, awesome. Okay, you want a phenom? Here's a phenom. I gave all my good phenoms away. And then he starts sending me this rigid shit that doesn't give me any carryover, and so lost hope there. And then that was when I was telling people, well, I'm going to compete this year. I wasn't going to compete. I didn't go out there in that shirt. I did eventually, but I did one meet. I did a USPA, did a 904, and then 2 weeks later I did a 940, every bit of 357 pounds again. And I'm like, I can't get over 1,000 pounds in this shirt. So just kind of gave up. And then one day the band shirts came in. I'm like, well, here's something. I'll put one of these on and be a legend overnight. And there was a huge learning curve for me. And I still, Sometimes I go in the gym and can do a great board press in it and learn it. And some days I go in the gym and I revert back to phenom and tucking and it doesn't work. And it's, it's just more of a headache anymore for me. So I just let other people enjoy what they're doing with it. And I support them. I mean, maybe in another 5 years, the equipment will change again. So I don't know. Maybe they'll leave. I know I have a suit that was made for me. It was made for, I don't know much about it. It's like, it does, I won't even talk about it. But anyway, it's got like, not TENS units in it, but basically when you lift, you get electrical pulses.
Yeah.
So I think one day we'll have shirts that have electro pulses in it that you hit, like jolted with a cattle prod or something.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Just make fun of it. So.
Well, I've heard you say that when you pressed, you were acting like you were jolted.
That's what. Yeah, explosive. Yeah. Everything I do from day one, because I train very explosively. I don't just push against a barbell. I violently contract everything I do. Even in assistance work, I like to do violent contractions. So train the muscles to react violently and explode. And I think if you move slow, you'll be slow on certain things. And I just still have to have that mentality when I push against a bar. It's like being hit with that cattle prod.
So to circle back on that, for your tricep extensions and all that stuff, you were doing it dynamically.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, on max effort day, we didn't do it because we did so much 2-3 hours of board work to where at the end of that, we were like, push downs, go home, wasted. So, and we would literally be on the bench for 3 to 4 hours with 10 people. So
now, was that the same, say if you had 10 people, was that the same stimulus for the person that their best bench was 500 compared to you, or did they have more energy to do more stuff?
We trained with 3 different benches, A, B, and C bench.
Yeah.
So C was like 0 to 300, B was like 4 to 600, and we were up at the 1,000-pound level. So, but everybody showed up. I can't say they had the same mentality as a lot of us did, but I was just proud that they were there because the more people there, it just made it more of a healthy atmosphere. Yeah, with that many people. So,
well, what I'm asking is because the stimulus of 800 pounds over is going to be greater than the stimulus of somebody under 400 pounds.
Of course.
So with them, I'm going to speculate and guess they weren't just board pressing and leaving. They still had energy to do more stuff.
But they didn't.
But they did.
No, they followed. Okay. They followed what we did. Yeah,
right. And it worked for them just as well.
I did. Yeah, they made progress too. Unfortunately, I thought that they should have done more work. I mean, because we. That's a good point. But they made progress looking back on it. So I had a 198 guy do 550 in a phenom, and his best raw bench was like 385, and he trained just as hard as we did on the boards, and it worked for him too. So I can't say it didn't work. Yeah, no, that's interesting because I would have thought the same thing, that they would have to do more. I never thought about that my whole life.
Because of that.
I'm not being self-centered or nothing, but when I go in the gym, I'm focused on what I got to do. And I wasn't coaching those guys. We just trained together as a team. Yeah. They just looked at us and did what they could do on a board or whatever. So, but I was focusing on what I needed to do because I was hungry at the time. And getting underweight was a rush back then. What were some of the big technique changes that you learned along the way? Feet placement and arch. Okay, and when did that happen and what was changed? A guy who's on my team, his name's BJ Dirk. There was a time when my handoff guy, for some reason, couldn't travel with me. We did the Bench for Cash in Detroit in 06, the Bench America, which was drug tested. I did that in 05. And he would be out there handing off for me when I was doing my 848s and Rage X's. He got a hold of Halbert at the show, and he would get a hold of a person like Matt Lamarck. Both those guys bench with their feet based out. Now, BJ Dirk, when I first met him in 2002, had a 325 bench and a poly. And 2 years later, he was given Jason Jackson a run from his money for the 242 and under at the Mendelssohn Classic with a 711 bench at 242. And I saw him go from feet placement here to based out here, and that progress he made. And I was like, okay, there's something there. I bench here, so I went way the frick out here like him, and I didn't like it. It was too extreme. So I kind of just kind of split the difference and kind of went in and right here, and I found a sweet spot for me. And that feet placement tended to work. And then I figured out arching the lower lumbar, arching the upper back, and really getting that belly up in the air. What do you mean by arching the upper back? Upper back. Okay, so half my life I spent rolling on a 4-inch PVC pipe on my lower lumbar because I thought that's where you arched. And I later found out that that's all great getting your hips under you for the proper leg drive, but when you're laying flat on your shoulder blades, there's no bench there. You got to get up on your neck and your traps. And that's what my handoff guy used to say, get up on your traps. So I would get a 3-inch roller and start bending my upper back. And I found that that's when I came up with that funky ass setup that I do, where I get up on the bench with my feet and I get my legs up, and it worked for me. I found a method that worked. So I had the feet placement change, and then I worked on that gigantic arch, and then increased some body weight and torso diameter. And those are techniques that helped me be who I am today.
Yeah. What about earlier on? Because I mean, when you're benching every day, right?
Yes.
You know that you're figuring shit out.
Yeah, coming in completely sore, completely broke down. Just doing the same thing over and over again. Incline, decline, dumbbells, tricep stuff. Just wear and tear on the body. I can't say it didn't work.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't go backwards.
Well, at some point you had to realize maybe you need to get tight.
True. Yeah, that's true. I didn't know nobody was helping me.
Yeah.
There was nobody helping me with technique. I just laid down and didn't even squeeze my shoulder blades together. It was just all raw type bodybuilder movement stuff. So it was tough.
Do you remember when you started to put those things together though?
Close after. Around the 700 shirted stuff I was doing, because my handoff guy would say, you got to stay tight, you got to squeeze, you got to do this stuff. And then he would start saying that to me as I was setting up on the bar. He's like, squeeze that bar tight, pinch those shoulder blades together, and he used to show me. We would stand up and he goes, put your arms out and like you're benching, as far as you can reach. Okay, there it is. Do you want to bench that far? Now bench your shoulder blades together, pinch them together. Okay, you want to bench that far? Well, that's the 6 inches of travel I just cut out.
Yeah.
That makes sense. So I got to pinch my shoulder blades together? Okay, that's another technique that I learned.
Yeah.
And then squeezing the bar was Louis.
Yes.
Learned that from Louis. Break the bar.
Yes.
And those are techniques that
when did it click though? Because there's a difference between squeezing the bar than actually getting kind of stuck, and then having to try to pull the bar apart to lock it out.
It clicked at a meet in 2004. I did an 800 something, and I remember that meet I came down, and usually I push up and then spread.
Yeah.
But this meet I came down, and from the very bottom, I was just pushing it apart. And I was like, well, God, that's working right out of the bottom when I do that.
Yeah.
So I was like, you don't press it up with front delts and then turn it out. It's from the very bottom you push apart. So that clicked. Once I find these little things that click, they're stuck in my mind forever.
Yeah.
So pinching the shoulder blades, getting up, you want your neck on the bench. That means drop your shoulders down like this. Changes where the bar path is going to go. I mean, all these little tips and tricks along the way have really aided. And that's something I want to pass down to people as a coach. So that's what's exciting. See somebody put 30, 40 pounds on their bench in a day. I've done that with high school kids. They come in and they bring the bar down above their nipples, elbows out.
Yeah.
I do this. I do a few changes, 20 pounds on their bench or something.
Yeah.
So
that's funny when you'll hear other people say technique's not important, but then you do that with somebody and they didn't get 40 pounds stronger.
No, it's technique.
Yeah, it's technique. And their range of motion's probably smoother and shorter.
Absolutely. Well, then when I teach them to pinch their shoulder blades, where are their feet? Are they staying tight? So these were when I used to train high school kids one-on-one. I do a group thing, 2 or 3 at a time. So that was fun at the time. Now it's just kind of like I just spit some knowledge out as we're training now. And everybody kind of knows what to do, per se. I don't have to really tell them. It's just I rotate the exercises. I rotate the assistant work stuff. And it's kind of my part, so... But I want to see them do well. I mean, they're training for a meet, and I'm the one that's leading the way as the coach, and I want to make sure that they're gonna benefit well and do well at the meet. So it's a little bit of pressure.
Yeah. When you think back on all the world records, which one do you remember the most?
Well, the 800. So I didn't think I was going to do it that day, and I couldn't believe I did it, and I never thought I could be the best in the world. When I lifted in Wabdell for the first time, I set a state record. I remember I set a Wabdell world record, and I was like, it's not a world record. Ken Lane is a world record holder. Anthony Clark, Confessior, these are record holders. What am I, a world record holder? No, that's not a world record. So 800 was the first one. That's my favorite, obviously. The 1075 was impressive because it was a 4th attempt. I had opened with 1010, and Wes Campen knew my lockout. Like, I pressed the 1010 up, and it was right here, and he's not going to give that to me. He knows this is me. So I missed it on an opener, and I remember holding it there, trying to see if I could get the rack coming. It wasn't locked. And he didn't give it to me. And I sat up and okay, that was my last warm up. So when I came out and did the 10-10 again, 10-55, and I remember I had my oxygen tank, and there was I didn't know I was going to get a fourth. And he's like, well, you can go for a fourth. It won't count in the meet, but it'll count as an all-time record. So I'm like, hitting that oxygen tank. And I'm just like, let's just go out and see what happens. And I remember, I'm like, they're going to fuck up the handoff or something. I thought something's going to go wrong. So I set up and I got all my guys and I'm like, shitty handoff, I'm not going to get it. It comes out like this. And if you listen to the audio, the girl that's announcing, she goes, oh, perfect handoff, perfect. And I'm like, God damn, it is a perfect handoff. And yeah, brought that down. One thing that impressed me about that lift is I pushed up, fatigued, and got to a sticky point. And I knew if I didn't do something in a split hair of a second, they were going to take that weight. Right when I got here, it stopped, and I went, spread that bar. So it was that punch.
Yeah.
That always impressed me. It was like a 2-stage lift.
Yeah.
So,
Well, that's a maturity of a lifter too.
to think under that.
Yes, because a lot of people have the skill to get there and just in their mind, they're just like, just raging.
Yeah, a lot of times it's like fight or flight, but the fact that I was able to
process
was kind of cool because I got it up here. I'm like, they're going to take it. Nope.
Yeah. I think you learn that only under the heavier loads in training.
In training. That's why I did
enough.
Yeah. Did a lot of, never did singles in training. I was always 2s or 3s with heavy 1100, 1075, 1090, those type of weights. I never went above 1120 at that time when I was doing the 1075, 1100.
Okay.
I don't know why. It was just, that's all I could do for a double.
Yeah.
Was 1120.
Well, do you need to? You see what I'm saying? If you're,
I think it would have helped.
Yeah.
If
To
I
go heavier?
I think so. Looking back, I can't say it wouldn't. I think if I could do more, some reason I think in my mind I could have done more, but at that time that's all I could do. And doing 7 meets a year is not good either.
Yeah.
I mean the progress is kind of stale, and the only time I really made tremendous progress is when I took off from like August until December, and I went from 1050 to 1075 or something or whatever it was. So yeah.
Were there any topics that you wanted to talk about I didn't bring up?
I just, I don't know. Let me think. I think stories to tell you.
Yeah.
We're on live. I wish we could see some questions that people were wanting me to ask.
I can look.
Yeah. Well, I can answer some fan questions. Because I'm a storyteller. You know, I got this meet I went to, at that meet I went to. This person I met, when I first met Scott Mendelson, how he was an asshole. Where does it go? Mark Henry, running into his ass at the Arnold.
Go into that one.
Mark Henry?
Yeah, go into that story.
Well, big wrestling fan from 4th grade, you know, NWA, Road Warriors, Dusty Rhodes, Nikita Koloff, Arn Anderson, Manny Fernandez, Rick Rude, WWE, Hulk Hogan, Bundy. So, you know, you go to the Arnold Classic and you see Kevin Randleman, rest in peace, saw him there, Ultimate Fighter. I'm like, that's cool. Dan Severn saw him. Randy Couture threw me on his table when I went up like this to choke him. Yeah, this was back in like 04 when the UFC guys, there's no crowd around them.
Yeah.
Yeah, Randy Couture, I'll get the Mark Henry story.
Yeah.
The Couture one's cool because I respect the man. He's got some fucking fast twitch strength I've never felt. I walked beside him and he's standing sideways. The guy's this wide. Okay, I'm 330 pounds, right? And I walk in front of his table. I'm looking at his belts. He's talking to somebody, but he sees me eyeballing him. And I'm kind of pacing back and forth like a lion ready to attack. And he's done talking. And I walk up, I look him in the eye, I look at his belts, I walk up, and I go like this, real slow. And I want to do it on this table because I'll probably break your table. This hand he grabbed back of my neck, and he threw me in that fucking table, and I felt like some gorilla grip fucking fast twitch strength. I never thought a man this wide could ever have. And we took a picture, it's on my Instagram page. But Mark Henry, let's see, first year. Walked in the back of the warm-up room. You didn't need a badge. We were all warming up back there.
Small area.
Small area. Walks through, says, all you motherfuckers get out of my way. First time me seeing Mark Henry, WWE. Like, awesome. Okay, he's on his period or something. He's in a bad mood. Next year, you need a badge to be in back. Sitting back there warming up, there's a lady in a uniform with a tie. and the curtain rips open. And she says, "You need a badge, sir." And he walks by and says, "Just try to stop me, motherfucker." He said that. I'm not making this shit up. 2007. We're warming up. Strongman, I'm at 315, or I got up to 500 raw or something. And then like, oh, Strongman got another hour. I'm on check drops. Kazmaier's right there. And he had said something bad about me in 2003 to my handoff guy. My handoff guy was at a booth at the Arnold there, and he was like, "Oh, my guy handoff for 733 bench. Oh, he's going to be dead in 4 years." So I pick up my bag. I see him. And I go, "How you doing, old man?" And he looks at me like this, Kazmaier. And I just walked away from him, and then they're doing that little thing back there where they're walking back and forth with their yoke or whatever they're doing. And they got a little path going. And then that new, there was a bench kid there, his first time at the Arnold. He looked both ways, nobody was coming. Shot at Mark Henry standing right there. He shoots across, nobody's in the way. And he said something, "motherfucker," to him. He was probably 10 feet away from me, and I was in his ear with 2 steps. In the side of his head, this close to his ear, screaming, "I'm gonna fuck him up and kill him. You fucking run your fucking mouth," and he won't turn and face me. I'm yelling, and I guess Savickas is coming for me back here. West Side guys are lining up here. Bob Coe, I think, those guys. And some of the words that were said, I can't repeat on here, but long story short, he doesn't want to fucking throw, because all he had to do was turn his fat body and bump me. This was cocked from the hip. It was coming right to his chin. I realized when I was up close to him, his neck is this round. I'm not going to get around his neck. So I'm going right for the chin. And once he turns, I'm popping him. Never turned. And eventually I'm insinuating a riot now, because the strongmen see what's going on. I made a scene. And so he turns, and I don't know what he said to me, but I grabbed his hand and I just barely shook it, and I go, "You're a really nice guy." And I just walked, eyes like this, like I was stoned, and then walked away. That was it, right? Well, the next year, I don't come to the Arnold, and Palumbo's there, fueling the fuck, Dave Palumbo, fueling the fire, got him, it's still on YouTube. He's like, "Oh, that Keneally, that never was said. Keneally never did that. Oh, and those guys don't get he gets in my face." Oh, yeah, I was in his face, dude. Yeah.
No, I heard it.
I was going to kill him.
Yeah. I heard it the next day in the gym.
I was going to kill him.
Yeah, half of us, I'm not going to fucking Arnold to save my life. Right, so I'm not fucking going.
It's just shit like that happens, man. And I just react, and it's not healthy, but...
Well, they came in Sunday, and they're relaying the story, and we're fucking laughing.
Does it sound like the same story? Or
it sounds pretty much exactly like the same story. Actually, probably downplayed a little bit.
Yeah, it was hot. Yeah, it was hot, but... it's just the 3rd year in a row, man. I just was done with this shit. This guy throws his weight around, and no one's ever stood up to him.
Well, it's also a very small fucking area, too. So very small, and not enough room for any of you guys, which was already everybody's pissed off to begin with. And
you got everybody and their girlfriends back there taking up space that don't need to be back there.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Which is why a lot...
It's a recipe for disaster.
Yeah. It used to be bigger, so there was more of us from Westside that were helping because it used to be bigger. But then it got to that really, like what the fuck happened? And it was like 10 by 10.
Yeah, it was.
And it's like, what the fuck? And then it's like, okay, who needs to take care of who? And that's the only fucking people that are going.
Right.
Because you got to breathe.
You do.
Right.
And it's no room back there. It's like claustrophobic.
Yeah.
But nothing's ever came of that. Palumbo tried to get me on a show 2009 or something. He got Mark Henry on there. He got my buddy from Florida who was there and witnessed it. I got on there, told my story, Mark his story. Mark said it never happened. Triple H got on there and said something about it. And long story short, Triple H got tickets for Palumbo at a New York wrestling event. I said, "Palumbo, can I get some?" Because the WWE was going to come to our state. I said, "Can you get some tickets for me?" And Triple H got me 4 front row seat tickets. So, got to see the Big Show, The Undertaker, Edge, Lita. I mean, the whole era back then.
Oh, so it worked out.
It worked out.
Yeah, that's good.
I haven't seen Mark Henry since, and I really don't know what I would do if I saw him. I can't predict.
I assume you probably just shake his hand the same way that you did.
No, I'm going to walk up and slap him on the shoulder and ask him if he remembers me.
Yeah.
"Who are you?" Keneally. Does that ring a bell? And then maybe he's going to man up and I don't know. I don't know how much jail time I'm going to get, though. I don't know if I'm going to risk that. What's the jail like here?
That. What, here?
Yeah. This is where they're going to throw me away. Is Chuck Vogelpool still working at the jail?
He's in the prison, yeah.
Well, I'm not going to probably go to county for a while.
You're going to go to county, right? Yeah. So I don't know. I can't tell you.
Okay.
Probably wouldn't want to do it.
No.
Right?
No, not really. Yeah, I do, but I don't.
Because
there's some unfinished business. The fucker ran his mouth again. So
you guys have been really consistent with your Kennelly TV thing, right?
Yeah.
So if you did this, then you're not going to be able to go back and then do your post Arnold recap. So it's going to fuck up your show.
6 months or a year.
Yeah, so it's going to fuck up your show.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
No.
So you can't do that.
Can't do that
because you've been consistent.
Yeah. No, but that guy. You can just tell he's thrown his weight around and no one's ever stood up to him.
Yeah.
And I stood up to him and he won't admit it, but anybody who was there saw me and heard me spitting in his fucking ear. I mean, I could have stuck my tongue out in his ear. I was that close. And I was kind of like bending over because he's round. And I was like in his fucking, yeah, dude. Another story?
Sure.
Trying to think of ones that the fans might find entertaining. Oh, I think meeting Louie was probably the best thing that ever changed my life. We talked about that. Mm-hmm. Where am I going from here? What tomorrow brings? I don't know.
Okay.
Every day, I go to the gym. It's not the same. That competitive fire, like I said, is not there when I get under 1,000 pounds. Get under 1,100 pounds, it's just not. Because 1,300 is where I want what I want to do. So nothing. It doesn't do it for me. I don't know if that's the point. I can't get out of it altogether. I can't walk away from it. If I was to walk away from the gym, I would probably turn to alcohol and some other fun thing to make me happy, and it would be bad. So the gym, I think, keeps me on the straight and narrow. And I always tell people, I'll always find a reason to come to the gym.
Yeah.
If I can't do 1,000 pounds, I'll do 900 pounds. If I can't, I'm going to keep doing it, and I'm going to keep building my physique and trying to get those Hulk Hogan 24-inch arms, and even though I got to go down in body weight and be healthy, I can't walk around at 360 anymore. That's just, I think people need to understand that. I mean, at some point, age is just a number, they say, but
it catches up.
It catches up, man.
Yeah.
Wear and tear, and when you push it as hard as I did, and I enjoyed it. It was a fun ride. And is it upsetting to see it behind me a little bit? But what are you going to do? Going to be depressed about it? I just keep with the hopes that people keep showing up that want to train with us in our little gym that we have, and I can coach them and keep that going. And I don't think that's going to continue. People get burnt out, phased out. They realize it's a second job and it's a commitment thing. You don't miss workouts, and eventually we're gonna maybe someday we'll have 8 lifters and someday we'll have 2 or 3. I know that might happen. One of my guys has to have surgery pretty soon, so he'll be out for 9 months. So, rotator cuff.
I would make the argument that you still only really need one over a long period of time, because look at all the crews that you trained with from the time you started to the time you finished.
That's true.
The only person that was consistent throughout all those years was you.
That's true.
Right?
That is true.
So the biggest difference is going to be just to find the one.
Well, and I had nobody to push me. I had to push myself.
Yes.
I couldn't feed off a guy who was benching 800. I wish there was somebody else at my level at those times that I was training that could have pushed me. Because I think that would have brought out a better athlete in myself, and I would have done more. And that's why I always thought that coming to Westside during my 1,000-pound era would have put me up at the 1,100 to 1,200 level, probably, with you guys and that mentality there. And I don't know what that was like, but do you, when you trained at Westside, you didn't miss workouts, did you? What if you missed a workout? What happened?
You get thrown out. If you missed enough, you get thrown out.
Thrown out. Like one workout, what would Louis say? What the fuck?
You weren't, first, most people just weren't missing.
No.
And if there was, they knew beforehand. If it was like a work thing. It was very fucking rare anybody missed right to begin with. But we would know, everybody would know, because you're relying on these people. Right? So
absolutely,
if there's going to be, and there were times it wasn't always 20 people in there. There were sometimes there were literally 4.
Yeah.
Like me, Kenny, Louie, and Chuck, and that was it. And that's like, fuck, we need more people. But you had to kind of know who was there, because it was going to dictate what the fuck you were going to do.
That's right.
Right? And there's a certain minimum.
That's right.
What that was there. So I really don't even know how to answer the question, right? Because I know you.
That's my
miss,
problem.
right?
Yeah.
Unless now, if there was a vacation, if I went on a vacation or something like that, it's like I'd be out from here to here.
Yeah.
Right? Louis still didn't like it, but it was the people that just didn't fucking let anybody know. And
then, that's what chaps my ass. I get a text message usually 2 hours before the workout. I won't be there. Okay, so now, or I'm driving to the gym and I'm like, well, who's going to be there? What's my workout going to be today?
Yeah.
I pull in there and I see, okay, I got him. Well, I'm not getting 3-man handoffs. Probably not getting a board holder today. So this is my workout now. So if I was still at a competitive level, I'd be even worse than I am now. I'd be really, I mean, yeah, I'd be a bad guy.
Yeah.
Yelling at my guys too much. So
No, I mean, that was...
Because I need them.
Yeah, that was one thing that I wasn't used to when I came to Westside. So that was a nice added bonus. I mean, there's a lot of other shit, but that was a nice added bonus because, okay, fuck, now there's at least consistency from other fucking people. You know, I don't have to worry about, you know, can somebody pull my straps up if I need to use my suit or some shit like that or whatever it was going to be. That was never even a fucking concern.
Okay.
You know, it operated in such a way that if we were squatting, then nobody, that's all you did. You didn't have to worry about changing weights. You didn't have to worry about changing box height. You didn't have to run a monolift. It was you and one other person, maybe three, in a rotation squatting. Then when you were done, you did that for the next group. You know, then the benching kind of worked in that rotation, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 people, side spotter. You go from side spotter to lift off guy to side spotter to getting on deck and then on the bench. Then from on bench, you know, side spotter. You just went around in a circle.
Okay.
You know, and that builds that tempo, but it also builds momentum and it builds energy, right? Because fuck, I can be faster than that. Fuck, you know, so it builds that up.
Right.
You know, and the max effort kind of worked the same way, but there might be a little bit more stalling in between. But not that much.
Yeah, I always wondered what training at Westside would be like. I mean, Louis gets in your head and he knows how to push people's buttons.
He knows how to piss people off, too.
Piss people off.
You know, so that's the other side. You know, there's a lot of good positives, but the bad positives, you had to learn how to deal with all that bullshit, you know, as well.
Okay.
Which a lot of people couldn't. You know, some people could. You know, and that was kind of I think for him, that was a way that he separated, you know, what he felt was the weak from the strong.
Okay.
Which may not necessarily be the case.
Right.
Some people just don't want to deal with other people's bullshit.
Right.
And we didn't have an option, you know, so there were no other gyms. So you learned how to deal with it.
Oh, yeah.
Or you're done. I mean, where are you going to go? Go train at a commercial gym by your fucking self?
Yeah, it doesn't work.
You know, that wasn't going to work.
Yeah. I always wanted to do a 3-lift meet myself, you know. And
Yeah.
I remember I had a canvas squat suit and never could really, my knees always buckled in. I was always rushed to the issue, but I just wanted to do a 3-lift meet at some point in my life. I never was, never did one. So people always ask me, why didn't you ever do a 3-lift meet? Well, I did push-pull once. I don't really like to deadlift either. So, I mean, Bull Stewart told me a long time ago, if you want a big bench, don't deadlift. He told me that in 1997, and I didn't know what he meant by that because I walked up to him, and he was 242 pulling 800. I said, Bull Stewart, I don't want to be like you. I want to pull 800. He goes, if you want to bench big, don't pull.
There's definitely something to that because, you know, when George first came in, he was a 3-lift lifter.
Okay.
And then he slowly pulled the squat out. But then he realized he had to keep some leg work in. When he pulled the squat, the lower body stuff out, the bench started to go up more. Kenny was the same way. He was a 3-lift lifter. And then, you know, the bench started to specialize, started to go up because he started gaining more weight. Then he went into that. So then those days, he still came in on those days, still did some stuff, but he wasn't training the squat and the deadlift the way that we were.
Okay.
It was just more upper back work. Then it pulls it back out. Now, Kenny later came back in as a 3-lift lifter, you know, but the bench also wasn't at that level it was when he was breaking all the world records.
Okay.
You know, so the bench only guys, they do some stuff, but they weren't doing all 3 lifts. And the ones that started to see, like, here's potential to really, really be good at benching would usually fall out of those other 2 to focus more on the bench.
Did Louis frown on bench only guys or
No.
Okay.
No, because they still showed up on the other days to help.
Oh, they did.
Yes.
Okay.
So they were still there.
Oh.
And there's still records too.
Okay.
If there's one thing Louis loved more than anything else,
World
it was
records.
that.
Okay.
You know, by far that more than anything.
Okay.
Was that. So it just provided more of those. And I remember when Kenny started going, it was crazy as fuck because I don't know what the numbers were at the time because I'm fucking old and I can't remember back, but it was, you know, we were all benching right around the 6s or whatever it was, and Kenny would go to a meet, he'd come back that weekend, it's like, I benched 650, like, Jesus Christ, and then like 2 weeks later, I benched 700, then like 2, it was just like, fuck, it was like this roll, you know, I'd have to go through open powerlifting to look at the numbers, but he went from something crazy, like 650 to fucking 800.
Like overnight?
Yes, and it was like, what the fuck is
Was he
this?
open with what he was doing, or was he secretive, or?
No, he was open. It's just figuring the shirt out.
Yeah.
You know, it's just, and he's got a short fucking stroke,
Yep.
you know, so it's figuring the shirt out, getting it dialed in. It was like, so, you know, we're all like, fuck, you know, it's trying to match that, but we don't have the same arm length. You know, so you got longer arms, you can't, that denim's a motherfucker.
I remember seeing a 728 and that denim shirt was just like painted on him. There were no wrinkles in it. Yeah.
Yeah. You know, so it was really cool to watch. Then George follows, and they started going back and forth and kind of feeding off each other. Like this record, then is going back and forth. It was interesting to see it unfold, and stock training with them, right? Because they're doing board presses on max effort day with Kenny and Rob were together.
Yep.
George was in a different crew, but Kenny and Rob were together, and it's like, okay, we're done at like fucking 5.5 plates or whatever it is, and it's like 7.5 plate, whatever it is. Like, Jesus Christ, this is fucking unbelievable where they would go with this shit. It was crazy. It was super crazy. How can people reach you? What's the best way to get a hold of you?
My email is pretty simple. It's benchmonster@gmail.com.
Yep.
We have a little podcast YouTube channel we do on Thursday night called Thursday nights on YouTube. It's called Benchmonster TV.
Yeah.
I decided to do that because I did a interview, and it's probably the last one I'll ever do, since this is the first one I've done. But I won't mention names, but I was in an interview, and they asked me, well, what do you want to talk about? Gave them some topics. We talked about one topic, and then they spent the next hour bashing people in their lifts and people that were dead. Like, still bashing them. And I was just like, this is not what I signed up for.
Yeah.
So let's have like a PG, we don't talk politics, steroids. We just, I showcase my max effort, speed bench training videos. I pull videos from the internet, showcase other lifters. Lifters email me their videos. I put them on the show, and we compliment them and keep it pretty fun. And then we have a chat box at the end of the night. We go through it. Then we have some questions on exercises or something. Then we answer them, do a little Q&A. It's not huge. It's not like a Joe Rogan podcast or anything, but decided to do it during COVID. I mean, we're stuck at home, and like, why not sit down and have my own channel and we have guests all the time, and I've had I'm trying to get Dan Bell on next, but I think Tiny Meeker was my first. Had Dave Hoff on there once, and it's fun. It's I was more apt to reach out to people during COVID when there was nothing going on. Now that life's opened up again, I really haven't had a guest because everybody's got lives, and I don't want to pin somebody down. I just feel, people are busy, and my girlfriend and I just do that show, and it's fun. We don't have a million viewers or anything, but
I watch a couple of them.
I like telling my stories. I tell them over and over again.
They're fun. I watched a couple of them. They're cracking me up.
I got my Mark Henry doll I hold up once in a while.
Yeah, that was cracking me up. Once in a while, like 3 times in one episode. I was counting.
Well, as the arm will get closer, I got to hold it up more and more.
Yeah, it was funny.
I might see him out there. I don't know. But no, that's where you basically contact me. I'm not going to give up my phone number because I'm not a text person, and I don't like talking on the phone too much. But, about your email, that's how you find me, and Benchmonster TV, that's how you find me. And I'm in a little town called Kennewick, Washington, way out in the middle of nowhere out there in Washington State. And that's where I reside, and that's where my crew trains, and been there for a lot of years of my life. Like I said, I lived in Dallas for a while. I just spur of the moment, I'm known to stop and leave and try something different. And I just don't think I adapt well to humidity and hot weather. It's not my thing. Yeah. Florida didn't work for me, but I found comfort up there, and that's where family's at. And they're not getting any younger, and mom passed away last year, so, and I'm getting up there in age, and all that good stuff too I got to deal with. So yeah, it's where will I be next year at this time? So
well, they have to follow. They have to follow
YouTube.
We have to find out, right? So we'll put all the links in the description.
I appreciate that.
I'm not going to put your email in the description because you'll get spam. So if you want his email, yes, because you don't want to put your spam on open things like that. Because it'll just start pounding you. But anyhow, if you guys want his email, just listen back and you can email him that way. I want to thank you for coming out. This has been a fucking great time. Yeah. And I'm sure
there's a lot of things we didn't touch on that maybe, I didn't know, I have my stories I tell and my little, innuendos that I throw in there. But I wish there was a fan-based question like, hey, what is, I like to.
I looked through there and there's a lot of comments just about people shaking your hand and it felt like Shrek.
Yeah, I got this. I don't know if you've seen this thumb pad here.
Oh shit, yeah.
Does anybody have that? Like that meat on there?
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know where you get those. That's just from holding the bar too much.
Maybe that's where a lot of that D-ball just got stuck.
It could be. I've never injected there yet, but.
All right, guys. We're done. We're out.